I wouldn't just willy-nilly recommend this to anyone who's got a following, but I could just tell he's got really good content. I don't know if anyone's ever told him that he could actually make this a career. And it didn't take much convincing, and that's why I think he already kind of knew. Yeah, it was 48 hours or maybe 24. It didn't take long at all. Then he's like, dude, I dropped out. I'm like, oh, cool. My parents are kicking me out of the house. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh no. It's got those hardcore Asian parents then probably. You're a doctor or otherwise you're disowned.
Right. Doctor, lawyer, or get the fuck out.
Vigorous podcast today joined with IFBB Pro, James English. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it.
I think you
here.
and me and Soosh Bro were one of the first Gorilla Mind athletes. Let's start
I gotta
there.
stop you right there.
Yeah.
It's Soosh. I gotta
Soosh.
look out for my boy.
Soosh. All right.
Soosh.
So how do you pronounce this?
Like sushi without the
Yeah.
E.
Oh,
So
sushi.
Yeah, 'cause
I
he's
get.
Asian.
Okay.
So he used
Yeah.
to call himself Sushi the Don or Soosh the Don on games.
The
And then,
Dawn.
like,
Nice.
when he would play Call of Duty or whatever. And so then when he started social media, he called himself Soosh. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. So we're some of the OGs now, and now Gorilla Mind is huge, and some of the athletes I don't even know because there's too many of
Yeah.
them. They got way bigger follower than I have, but yeah. So how did you get started with Gorilla Mind? Like, let's hear the backstory a little bit there.
You know, I think the first time I reached out to Derek, I think it was early 2019, and I'm pretty sure I reached out about height boosting insoles because I'm 5'9", and at the time, you know, Derek was in that like very manosphere type thing, and I was all about like, I gotta fucking look smack. Wait, can I swear on here?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. My
I
channel
was
is
all
muted.
about,
It
like,
doesn't matter.
looks maxing and like you know, being very, what's the word, just good looking, and whether that's height, gear, anything like that. So I hadn't started taking gear at that point, but I was just kind of getting into like, what is mewing, what is, you know, is
PE.
height super important? Yeah, penis enlargement. And those were like, dude, those were the two things. He must have thought I was a weirdo. Those were the two things I reached out about because I didn't know, no one else talked about it. So
Right.
I was like, all right, well, you know, I'll shoot this guy a message. He probably won't see it. He probably won't respond, but I'll shoot him a message. And if I sat here and scrolled up for about 20 minutes, I could find that first message.
All right. Yeah.
What height boosting insoles do you use, bro? And then he answered. To my surprise, he answered, and then I think my next question was about penis enlargement. Right after that, so, hey, man,
It's the good old days before. This is the good old days
What?
before any of us blew up. And then, like right now, if I go to my Instagram, you get like 500 messages every day.
Yeah,
So it's impossible to get back to everybody. But back then, yeah, I mean, I would reply to all the messages too. So you had a casual conversation about lengthening your height and your penis. How did that turn
yeah,
out?
the two most important lengths.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. And he was just like not judgmental at all. You know, just answered very matter of factly, which is exactly what I needed. And like I said, this was in early 2019. So as time went on, I kind of felt like I was annoying him, but he kept answering. So I just kept asking him questions. And then one day, I think I remember where I was. I was on a subway. So this must have been late summer. I was living in Manhattan, 2019. And he said, hey, I think it was the first ever mode flavor, mango peach mode. So this was like the flagship product. I could be wrong, but it had either just recently released or maybe he was just starting to get into like influencer marketing. And he's like, could I send you this pre-workout and just tell me how you like it? And from there, I mean, I really liked the pre. And at the time, I actually liked the mango flavor. Now it's like my least favorite. But I was like, damn, this stuff's good. Because in comparison, it was pretty good to all the other stuff on the market.
Right.
And then he sent me nitric when it first dropped, and I took nitric, and I was like, holy shit, I've never had a pump like this. So yeah, when he reached out about being an athlete, I was like, yeah, 100%. It was kind of a little bit of like a leap of faith because Gorilla was so unknown at that point. And I remember sitting down and back then they had IGTV. I don't know if you remember IGTV
Yeah,
is
I
like the
remember
long.
that.
And I
Yeah.
remember having to sit down and being like, okay, I want to explain to my followers why I'm joining this company specifically. So I made like a 5-minute video talking about Derek, talking about how good these products are and how much I believe in them, and basically just give it a chance. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've stuck with them since. Only supplement
Yeah.
company I've ever been with. So
Same here, man.
yeah,
Same here. I
yeah,
think Derek reached out not too long, maybe 6 months or 1 year after you signed on. Because I remember he sent me some samples to give it a try. And just like you, I was blown away by the nitric. Because the nitric formula is actually very similar to what I would homebrew, basically myself. I would get all the raw ingredients from, iHerb and bodybuilding.com. And I would just make my own pre-workout. And then the scoops would be like this big. Because you have like a
right,
proper dose of creatine and a proper dose of citrulline and some beta
yeah, yeah,
alanine, which
yeah,
I thank God it's not in nitric. Oh man, terrible.
yeah,
So back then I would make my own pre-workout and then add some stevia. I then use some sort of flavor drops to kind of make it palatable. And then he sent me nitric. I'm like, this is exactly what I need, but it actually tastes way better. So
hmm
I saw you and Soosh on the Gorilla Mind website, and I was like, okay, this could work, right?
yeah.
And so I signed
These
up, and
guys
I
are
never
great.
left. I never left, and I get offers here and there, and I'm like, what for what? I mean, I'm very happy with how Derek is treating me, and the products are
Yeah,
great. So
yeah. It
no
would be.
reason to leave.
Yeah, I've said before that I probably will never leave Gorilla unless they go bankrupt. So,
Hmm.
Derek, don't let it go bankrupt.
Yeah, that's
This
that's not
is,
gonna happen.
yeah.
They're
So,
only growing.
but I remember seeing you for the first time. I think you had 7,000 followers on Instagram at that point, around
Yeah,
7,000.
I was
And I'm like,
tiny.
how does
Not
Derek?
that I'm any bigger now. Like now we have 50,000, so it's growing at a snail pace, but it's growing.
Yeah. And also, the difference is every single one of those 50,000 followers that you have follows you for you, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that might have 1 million followers, but they just post reels all day every day, and it's like
Hmm.
maybe only 10,000 of those followers actually really vibe with that person, and the rest are kind of just following for the reels and for the base level entertainment. Versus with
Right.
following like yours, the number doesn't really matter as much, because 50,000 real followers is much better
Hmm.
than 1 million, casual kind of fans.
Yeah, and since I'm so selective on what I put out, it's mostly educational content, and then once in a while body shots, and I don't even do it now because I'm off cycle, so you get like that complex. You know how it is. So,
With
but
what?
most of I've been off cycle for a year now, so I try to get my
Mhm.
wife pregnant. So the physique updates are marginal because there's not much to show. So it's all reels
Well,
basically.
that's how it feels because, well, yeah, but when I say reels, your
Mm.
reels are much different than like the super clickbaity, like you,
Yeah,
when I'm saying other people posting reels, I'm talking about the super clickbaity, just like
right.
base level dopamine, just scrolling through, you know what I mean?
No,
Versus with
no, I can't.
you, if you sit
Mhm.
down and watch one of your reels, it's something where you actually learn something. And I think
Right.
half of my saved posts on Instagram are just Vigorous Steve reels that I'm like,
Oh,
oh, I
really?
gotta come. Yeah, because
That's
this is
hilarious.
important information I need to remember.
That's
So,
funny. That's funny.
um,
Thank you.
but yeah, definitely. But at the time
Cool.
you were at 7,000, and I was thinking, how does Derek find these people? But I remember him. I remember asking about you, and I just said like, who is this guy? And he said that Vigorous Steve is one of the few people that I can count on one hand that I will actually outsource information to in order to
Yeah.
learn. Because normally Derek is the teacher, right?
Right.
He's like the Delt Daddy who has basically like inspired a generation. And it's very
Hmm.
rare to hear him say, I go to so and so for new information. So
Right.
that's when I knew you were legit.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
we've been talking. I think that around the same time that I think it's about 4 to 5 years or something. Like I had a private Facebook group that he wanted to join, and I was basically on the social media sphere. I was a nobody because I was just coaching, and I didn't really like the attention on social media. So I had like 5,000 on Instagram and no YouTube channel. And and
Mm.
and people might have seen me on Tony Huge's YouTube channel because we used to do some content together when he was still when he was coming to Thailand early on. So I was, in the social media sphere, I was a nobody. And then Derek found me through a podcast, I think, and he wanted to join in. And yeah, we had a lot of conversations about pharmacology and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
then at
well,
one
that
point
was
he
the
offered me his.
Supraphysiological Man. Was that the podcast?
Oh yeah, that's years later. This is like well before. I think Derek had like
Okay.
25,000 subs. And then, of course, the
Okay.
content was a little bit different because he talked about, PE and hair loss and interpreting studies. And of course, his content evolved over the last couple of years. So yeah, that was early on. And then, I knew Alec Matrevsky through, this whole underground pharmacology scene. And then at one point we connected with Leo when he started becoming more popular. So a couple of years later, we did the Supraphysiological Man podcast. But unfortunately, that
Hmm.
ended because Leo had some demons. And then we did one more podcast with Alec Matrevsky, and I think now Derek is just too busy to do any more podcasts. I have to ask him a couple times, but he's always like, you know what, I got too much stuff to do
Yes.
because that podcast of ours is usually like 3 or 4 hours,
Right.
and yeah, so
Well,
maybe at
yeah,
one
'cause I
point we'll
remember
come back, but I'm not sure.
because I remember watching that podcast and like convincing myself that I'm somewhat keeping up with the information, because a lot of it, some of it I did understand, but some of it I'm like, okay, I got to pause and now I got to go research this just so that I can
Yeah.
understand this path that they're going down before I even continue watching. That was a lot of the podcast for
But
me.
that's the best. That's the best way to learn. Like I've had a lot of podcasts that I used to watch in the early days where I'm like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" And then you pause and you go down the rabbit hole. You learn, and then you're somewhat up to speed, right? And then you continue with the podcast. So a 3 hour super physiological man podcast might take you like 4 days to get through. That's why the
Right.
views just kept going. The views just kept going, once they were posted
Because it
because
was all the returning viewers coming back to watch
yeah,
another 10 minutes.
exactly, and then going down to Science
Yeah,
Direct and whatever to find some studies and see what we were talking about. Yeah, I
yeah.
think that podcast was great. Yeah, it's a shame it ended.
It was because it was funny because I remember there were some times where you or Leo or Derek would be like, "Well, obviously you don't take this with this because
Yeah,
and I'd be like, "Why is that obvious?" Pause. I don't know why this is obvious, and then I would text
right.
Derek and be like, "Hey, man, you said this on the podcast." But yeah, dude, he is busy now, and like, unfortunately, unfortunately for him, he's still the person I go to for just like if I have health questions or blood work or
Hmm.
anything like that. And he's probably like, this fucking guy. I got to
No,
answer
I mean
this. And
he always answers on the DM, so I
I
send him
know.
messages a couple times a week, and he does me as well. So, I mean, we're like the OG circle, and we're all
Mhm.
good with each other. We're just more busy now. I'm sure you're 10 times busier than when we got started with Gorilla Mind.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, you keep the good people close, right? And then
Hmm.
the new people kind of have to prove themselves. And now it's difficult to get in that circle because the circle is kind of full, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure you've noticed the same thing. Like as you got bigger on social media, you're way more selective with who you let in. But the people who are
Yeah.
already in, you're tight with, I mean, I met
Right.
Derek. I've
Right.
only met Derek once in right after the Liver King debacle. We went to a cheesecake factory, and then we waited to post that picture for Christmas like a month later because otherwise it would have been too close.
Right. So you guys, did
That's-
you met in person to kind of like finalize that video or something?
no, it was well after. So Derek released it. It was done like a week before he went on Rogan the first time or the second time, I think. And then that was 2 weeks before or a week before I went to the United States. So we were both in LA at that time. And then I mean it was a huge fucking blowout, of course, with death threats and oh man, it was a crazy period. Yeah, it was crazy. So me and Derek met at Cheesecake Factory and we had a very good talk. And and we were like, maybe we shouldn't post this now because then everybody thinks that it's all planned. And that was like right after people figured out on Reddit that I was the coach for 3 weeks.
Hmm.
So let's wait a little bit. So we posted it for Christmas, like a Merry Christmas, everybody. But actually, that picture was taken like 6 weeks earlier. But that's the only time I
Hmm.
actually met Derek in real life. I tried to meet him last year, but he was too busy with Formula One and podcasts. And like I would fly to Vancouver just to say hi. It wouldn't be an issue, you
Yeah.
know.
It's
Did you?
dude, it was
How many?
weird.
How many
Wasn't
times
it
did you
weird
meet
meeting him
him?
for the first time in person? I've met him, I think twice. I think twice.
Yeah,
Both times have been, he stopped by, obviously to meet us, but also to get in a podcast on Modcast, and both of them did numbers. I think one of them
yeah.
did 80,000 views, and then the other one did like 400,000. I think it's our biggest
Oh wow.
podcast, actually.
Oh
Yeah,
really?
it
Okay,
went.
check it out. Yeah, so
Yeah,
so meeting Derek no was just normal because I'm not a fan. I'm a friend, right? So of course I'm a fan of his work, but it's not like I put him in the fan zone. The Derek is in the friend zone.
right,
So I meet him like,
right.
hey, what's up? I gave him a hug. We had a good talk, and it's like the exact same way it is online. And of course, we did many podcasts together, so we're kind of tuned into each other. So we had a great time, man, at the Cheesecake Factory,
Yeah,
eating
yeah.
all
Doing
the
podcasting
chocolate
online.
bread,
What?
eating all the chocolate bread. That's like a hidden joke. So every time Derek goes to Cheesecake Factory, he sends me a picture of like, chocolate bread. I do the same thing.
It's it is weird though, like getting to know someone so well,
Hmm.
like virtually, and then
Yeah.
meeting them in the flesh. At least for me, it's like, yeah, I mean, I FaceTimed him before, I've texted
Hmm.
him a bunch, but like actually meeting someone in the flesh after getting to know them that well, it's almost
Hmm.
like, wow, you're a real person. You're not just a figment on my screen.
All right. But isn't it the same with like online dating in that sense? Of course, like you chat with somebody on, I don't know, whatever chat app. I never use those. I met my wife in the gym the old fashioned way. But like
Yeah,
if you
good.
do online dating, like you talk to somebody a lot and then you finally meet. So you already know each other to a certain extent.
Yeah,
But you don't know each other because you don't know how you interact in real life. But I think with Derek and many people actually met through the social media space. Sometimes you talk so much that it's just normal to meet each other, and then
mm,
you realize that people are a lot taller or a lot bigger or a lot smaller or whatever than they are in real
yeah.
life. And that's always the fun part. Like I saw Derek and like, Jesus, fuck, you were tall. Just like
Yeah. Well, he's also
like I'm.
got those fucking insoles in, dude. I'm like,
Oh
bro, you're
really? I
already
didn't
so
notice.
tall. Why are you doing this?
Oh
Well, he's
really,
wearing boots.
Derek?
He's got the Chelsea boots, which the Chelsea boots are basically like insoles.
I have
I'm
to
like,
check.
just can't you just
I'm
wear
gonna
like
check.
Vans or something, bro? Come on, I'm 5'9".
Yeah, I'm 5'9" too.
Yeah,
So we would
he's
we would
tall as
we
shit.
would we would hide up. Yeah, maybe. Like this is the only picture that I got. Not sure if you can see that.
Yeah,
Probably not.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I remember that.
yeah.
It's not
So
focusing,
this
but I can still see it.
yeah, it's pretty good boots. Yeah, Derek's good people, man. Derek is
Yeah.
fun. So you met Soosh through Gorilla Mind then, right?
Yeah, so um he was, I think, the second athlete or maybe the
Hmm.
third. I can't really remember this in terms of paid athletes. So there were
Right.
affiliates before,
Hmm.
but I think I was the first paid athlete. I need to double
Hmm.
check with Derek to see if that's right because I don't want to offend anyone, but I was one of the first. And
Uh-huh.
then Sush joined shortly after. Um, and that's how I found him because Gorilla posted "Welcome our newest athlete, Sushbra," and I thought it was going to be some guy with like a million followers. But then when I clicked on his page, I'm like, oh, this kid has 13K. He's
Hmm.
by no means like a big page. But then I clicked on his pictures, like his posts, and I noticed that he was getting 5,000, 6,000. One of his posts even had 7,000 likes.
Right.
And in the like on social media, 10% is kind of a good standard.
Yeah.
10% engagement. So if you have 200,000 followers, you get 20,000 likes. 50% is unheard of. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So
unless you have viral potential and it just keeps pushing your content.
right. And so I'm like, I almost judged him at first. I'm like, who is the like what is this TikToker kid? And then but I clicked on his YouTube and I clicked on one of his videos. There's like a Q&A, and not only did I change my mind and like him, but I also thought it was really funny and engaging. And I was like, okay, this guy's got like he's got it. So I
Right.
reached out to him over DM and I just said, hey, welcome to the team. You have really good content. Keep doing what you're doing, basically. And he was appreciative, and we just started talking. I don't even remember why we exchanged numbers, but we did. I think we just said, hey, maybe one day we'll collab. which is kind of ironic looking back. We lived together for like 3
Yeah.
years.
Right.
So maybe one day we'll collab. And then we exchanged numbers and we started FaceTiming here and there. And he was in college and he would send me, he'd say, "Oh, I'm doing chemistry. I don't even know why I bother being in school. This stuff's so annoying." And I said, "Drop out, dude." Because I dropped out a year before and I said, "Drop
Yeah.
out. You don't know what you want to do." And I'm telling you, you got great opportunity right here. And if it doesn't work
Mm.
out, you can always go back to school. But I would seize this, what you got going on. And I think he kind of knew that too. He just needed someone to like tell him so that he
Hmm.
didn't think he was crazy. Well, anyway,
Well, but
his
because by that time
parents.
you already knew the opportunities of social media and the revenue was going up, and because through
Right.
social media you can make x like 10x what you could make working for somebody else with a degree.
Yeah. And I wouldn't just willy nilly recommend this to anyone who's got a
Hmm.
following, but I could just tell he's got really good content. I don't know if anyone's ever told him that he could actually make this a career. So I told him that, and it didn't take much convincing. And that's why I think he already kind of knew. I
Yeah,
think
he
that's why
already knew. It just
that's why
needed
I think
somebody to
he knew.
yeah, to push him over the edge.
Right, right. Because I think it took 48 hours. I think I
Oh
told him two
wow,
or three drop
that's
out,
fast.
drop. Yeah, it was 48 hours or maybe 24. It didn't take long at all. And then he's like, "Dude, I dropped out." I'm like, "Oh, cool. My parents are kicking me out of the house." I'm like, "Oh shit."
Oh
Yeah.
no,
They
he's got
said they
those
said you have
hardcore Asian parents. Then probably
yes.
like
Yeah.
you're a
Yeah. I didn't
doctor,
want to
or
say that.
otherwise you're disowned.
Right. Doctor, lawyer, or get the fuck out.
Yeah,
So,
right.
but and that's probably good parenting. Like they don't know any better,
Well,
and social
uh,
media is a new thing.
I'm not sure about
So
that, but
sure, but I can see it. I can see
yeah,
like you're born into an era where social media doesn't exist and social media
yeah.
jobs don't exist. And then your
Mhm.
son, who's in military school or just been in military school, says, "Hey, I'm dropping out because my TikTok's working out well." Like as a parent, I can see at least why they would be apprehensive. And they gave him
Yeah.
2 weeks. They said, "You got 2 weeks, but we're not gonna. If you really want this to work, you got to do it on your own. We're not providing for you." So they weren't like super harsh about it. They basically just said, "You got to do this on your own."
Hmm.
And he's like, "Damn, I need a place to live." And I'm like, "Well, shit, I've been living with my parents for the past 9 months, and I don't really want to keep living with them. I dropped out for a reason. So,
Hmm.
do you want to move in together? We can move somewhere where like fitness is more poppin'." Because I was living up in
Right.
Massachusetts, there wasn't much going on.
Right.
So we decided on Houston, which turns out of luck and also a bit of planning, that turned out to be a great move because I knew Alpha Land was opening. I knew it was going to be a big gym. I'd been there before for a Gymshark event, and I just knew like there's a lot of fitness people in Houston. And when we
And
moved there,
that was before the big Alpha Land opened, right? We're talking about the first gym that was kind of not so big as the
right,
this behemoth of a gym that's there now.
but I knew I'd heard that there was going to be this behemoth opening in the coming
Ah, right.
years.
Okay.
I'm like,
Hmm.
well, that's definitely going to attract some people. And even regardless of that, there's, people like Russ Swole and there's Christian
All right.
Guzman himself. And there's a ton of other people there that you collab with them and grow from there.
Right.
And you're just surrounded by that energy of other people doing the same thing as you. So, but it didn't even take any collabs. As soon as we moved in together, both of us started growing quick because we both were freshly living on our own or with each
Hmm.
other, but not under the wings of our parents. And we knew we had to make shit happen. And on top of that, we were excited about it. We were like,
Of
"Let's go.
course.
We're living
Yeah.
together. We're in this new place." And like the dynamic just flowed really well. It's fun to reminisce about it because I don't really even think about that era much anymore. But yeah, dude, moving in with someone you barely know. We only knew each other from text and some FaceTimes,
Hmm.
and luckily, like the dynamic worked really well on camera and off camera. Like it was just really good. So yeah, it was great for both of us and kind of catapulted us to where we are today. And then we've
Yeah, you
continued
kind of
growing independently.
right. I mean, if you throw yourself in the deep end like that, I mean, you were already making a little bit of money, but he was just getting started with the affiliate stuff, right? So he's probably not doing so well in the beginning, or he
I
was.
think actually he was doing pretty well with Young LA at that time. because he had
I was
joined Young
already with Young
LA.
LA. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right.
And like I said, he had that cult following. It was small,
Hmm.
but like I said with you, all those 50,000 people are all,
Yeah, if
they
they're
really follow
loyal.
you.
Right.
Right. It was the same with him. So he might have only had a few thousand followers, 13, 14 by the time we moved in together, but they were all really like on board with him. So he was
Yeah.
making decent money, but nothing compared to, a couple of years later.
No, right. But that's, so at least you're able to pay the bills and survive, right? And then the rest is just work, 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 work because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And then at one point you look at your eye and you're like, oh, I'm glad I dropped out. I'm glad I made this
Yeah.
decision, right? And then you show your parents and like, ooh,
Yeah.
we were
And it was
wrong.
funny
Right.
telling my parents certain numbers because, like, for example, when Turkesterone first dropped, you
Oh yeah,
probably
that was
remember
crazy.
just,
Yeah.
I remember me and Soosh just refreshing our commissions just over and over. We're like, holy shit, dude. It just is going up and up and up. And I remember
Yeah.
telling my parents, like, I made this much money in 20 minutes. They're like, what the fuck? Is that
Yeah.
normal? And I'm like, well, not really, but,
Yeah.
happens once in a while.
Once in a while.
But
Yeah. I mean, some launches like Black Friday, I mean, it can get pretty crazy.
yeah, yeah.
And especially I
And
think for your demographic, because you probably have a lot of like people in your age group, right? So let's say 20 to 30 years old. Is that the majority of your audience, or is it
yeah,
younger,
my
older?
biggest demographic is 18 to 24. And then my
Oh, right.
second
Yeah.
biggest demographic, which is pretty close to that, is 24 to 30, I believe.
Yeah.
So about my age, give or take a few years.
Right, right, right. And those are the guys that really buy the pre-workouts and the testosterone and the clothes. Like my age bracket is a little bit higher. It's like 25 to 50. And those guys, they usually don't buy so much pre-workouts. They buy some health supplements and
Hmm.
ebooks and services. So my affiliate sales are not as stellar as yours. I'm sure we can talk metrics off air, but I
Yeah.
think like that. This is why I see a lot of the younger guys doing so well because in that age bracket, everybody's very supportive. Right? They all use the discount codes for the pre workout, and it's almost like a lifestyle, right? You follow this athlete, and they use a particular pre workout, and they you use the discount code, and it seems to do some of athletes in your age bracket very very well because I've heard the numbers just from a single affiliate. I'm like, holy crap! I mean, it's a year's salary in a month. You know,
Yeah. Well, I
it's
mean, I wouldn't say I'm at that level.
mm,
But yeah, it definitely pays the bills. And um, but I mean, the top athletes, the numbers I hear is it's just like
yeah, it's insane.
disgusting.
It's
It's
insane,
crazy.
and I
And
think I think that's where some of the pressure is now coming from. Like you dropped out of school and you became successful, right, through social media, and a lot of kids want that. A
yeah,
lot.
yeah. And that's why I'm a little hesitant to just, like I said before, I wouldn't just willy-nilly tell anyone to drop out
Hmm.
because as more people do that, the space becomes more and more and more saturated, and then it becomes more and more and more competitive, and it becomes more diluted.
Yeah.
When back in 2020, if you wanted to buy Gorilla pre-workout and you wanted to use a discount code, you had like 5 discount codes to choose from. Right now, you have 80, and
Yeah.
with Young LA, it's even more. I mean, back when I joined Young LA, it was maybe like, I don't know, 40 athletes, something like that,
Hmm.
30, um, maybe even less, and now it's like 300. So it kind of keeps getting more and more competitive.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of those people don't have your same demographic. They might be like a Mexico based influencer. I'm probably not going to
Hmm.
share any common followers with him, but someone like Soosh or the Trend Twins, anyone like that, you're kind of competing for code usages.
Right.
So, yeah, but also I think what you said about people my age using codes more often. I know that Giordani Craya.
Oh yeah, the guy from Young LA, right? The kind of the
Yeah,
face of it. Yeah.
yeah, I know that for a while. I think I can say this.
Mm.
I won't say any specific numbers, but I know that his average orders were lower than Sush's, but his commission was higher than Sush's because his followers are older. and they have more
So they
money.
buy
They have
more.
jobs of their own. Right. So
Right.
instead of a 16-year-old using mom's credit card to get like a shirt, it would be a made man who's making 200K a year buying
Mhm.
$500 worth of clothes. So
Right.
both of those are
Yeah.
one order, but one of them makes you, $100 commission or whatever, and the other makes you $5.
Right.
So I
Right.
know,
Right.
and that's still true for Giordani. Say what you will about him, but that man is consistent, and
Mhm.
his orders basically stay the same whether his accounts get banned or someone cancels him or whatever. The
Yeah.
same
There's some
people show
drama.
up after month after month.
Right.
Yeah. So
That's good. That's good. I was with Young LA for 3 months, but I couldn't meet the minimum. So after that, I decided not to work with any clothing company because I really didn't enjoy posing videos and buy the shirt. But
right.
and that
Yeah.
my audience isn't really after that either. So I was with them
Yeah.
for 3 months, and then they said, "Well, you didn't meet the minimum, so we're gonna let you go." So yeah, of course, no problem.
Yeah.
Right, fair is fair. And then after that, I got a couple offers from other clothing companies. I'm like, you know what? I tried with Young LA, and even though my audience now is twice as big, I don't think I'm going to convert much.
Right. Especially if you come up in kind of if you could describe your audience or your kind of content in one word, what would it be? Would you say?
Educational. So it's
Educational, right.
yeah,
So an educational man selling clothing, which is fashion, it's just like it's a little bit different versus
right.
selling health supplements. Of course, people,
Yeah, of course,
people
those
want
are
that.
sold.
That's the
Yeah.
kind of content you're
Hmm.
putting out. So with me, I'm a little bit in the middle. A lot of people, their Young LA is higher than their Gorilla in terms of
Hmm.
commissions. But with me, I'm kind of in the middle where I'm not a fashion guy. I don't have like a great fashion sense. I mean, a lot of the time I just pull whatever fits. I mean, I'm
Well,
wearing an all black right now. Just
there you go.
black on
But you're a
black.
bodybuilder. You're like me. All you do is train and eat. Take some
Exactly. So
PEDs.
I don't have time to look into the current, fashion trends.
Right.
But someone like Soosh that does really well because he loves that stuff and
Right.
he'll throw on different fits and he's always doing try on hauls and people can see that. So,
Right.
and I don't, with something like supplements, there's not a new product dropping every 2 weeks. But with clothes, you have to be on the cutting edge. You have to drop new stuff every 2 weeks.
Right.
And it's like you can get really caught up in just always promoting clothing, which I try to not do. It's like the pieces I really like, I'll promote those. And then the ones
Mhm.
that, I only give a 7 out of 10, I might just post a picture and not really talk about them.
Yeah, when Joe was still alive, he was very good at that. He would do fucking photo shoots at his house with all the clothes, and I would see how much stuff they would send him because we
Yeah.
would always have issues importing right in Thailand. So when he was here, right, he would get, I mean, wardrobes of clothes, and he would go through
Yeah.
all of them, and he'd make the coolest reels and the coolest videos for his Instagram stories, and he would do very well with the sales.
And
I
it also
remember
helps looking like a friggin' Greek god.
he looked like a
You can
fucking
put
god.
on
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, and his fans were
It's
very,
so
very
like
loyal also.
it's funny that they send me a ton of stuff,
Hmm.
and you'd think it would just be easy for me to clean out my wardrobe, clean out my closet, and get rid of the old stuff and bring in the
Hmm.
new. But my girlfriend will show me, "Hey, do you want to keep this?" And it's something I haven't worn in months, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, if we ever go on a nice date, maybe I'll wear that." So I end up keeping 90% of my stuff, and then I just run out of
Right.
space, and I'm like, "Oh shit! Well,
Gotta
I
buy
got
a
to
bigger
really do
house.
it." Yeah, not over here in LA, dude. It's crazy expensive to live here.
Yeah, so I was in LA last year and the year before, right, when I went to the Mr. Olympia, and man, America is and some places are even more expensive than the other ones. Like I went to a zoo culture, and I come in, like I'll take a day pass, $60.
That'll be $8,000.
I was like, holy shit. Two people, right? My wife was already appalled. She's like, I'm not paying $60 to listen, babe, I'm paying for this entire holiday. You don't have to pay shit. You're just here to have fun. So I paid $120 to train with oh shit, what is his name? His name eludes me now. Sorry. And then I met a couple people there, and they were following me, and they were following them. So that was really cool. But I'm like, shit, if all the gyms are like $60, no, I'm sure some gyms are
Yeah.
like $20, but I'm like, man, it's pricey over here. Hotels are expensive, and I'm sure living costs are pretty high also.
Man. Yeah.
So why did
I'll
you
do a
move to
little.
LA then? Is it for the collabs, or is it for to be closer to young LA because they have their own gym there?
Well, yeah. So I was still living in Houston after Soosh moved to LA. I was still living in Houston for about
Hmm.
another year. And every time I
Right.
would visit, because sometimes I would just visit and then other times they'd fly me out for a photo shoot or whatever. And Sush would always say, "When you moving out here?" And Gary, the owner, would always say, "When are you moving out here, man? You got to move out here. Get out of Houston. What are you doing in Houston?" And when your boss tells you that over and over, you're like, "Well, I guess I will."
Fine.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. But the place I'm living in right now is 2,000 square feet, and the rent is 5,000 USD a month. And and that's actually a steal. When I told people that, they were like, "Wow, that's a good for where you're living. The location. That's a good price." And I'm like, "Well, what's a bad price then?" Because 2,000 square feet for 5 grand um, is not cheap in my eyes. So you could get like a penthouse in Houston for that amount of money a month, just
Yeah.
about. So yeah, there's definitely some places that are more expensive. If you want to go live in the Midwest, it's going to be dirt cheap. If you want to live in
Yeah.
LA, it's just very expensive.
I
And
heard
I
some
think
guys
part of
pay
the
like
reason for that,
8,000 to 12,000 a month just for rent.
for
8,000
what?
to 12 for some sort of house, some sort of,
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to rent a house here, it is definitely going to be in that range, unless you want to live in like the hood. But if you
Yeah.
want to live in a nice area with, I can't even say minimal crime because there's a decent amount of crime here, but less crime, it's going to
Hmm.
be pretty pricey. But I think part of the reason for that, for one, it's just the reputation. It's LA. People want to live here, and the weather is very nice, and it's
Hmm.
right next to the beach. But also, it is land. It's physically landlocked. So Houston is on a flat plane, and when they want to expand, they can just literally expand two dimensionally outwards
Right.
because it's just flat. But LA is surrounded by mountains, so you can't really build out. They've already filled in the entire valley. So
Right.
now it's like, what can you do from there? If demand keeps going up, you just keep raising the price until
Yeah.
it's
Or
like,
you build upwards, but I think all those nice condominiums, they're even more expensive. It's the same here in Thailand, right? The houses are cheaper than the condominiums for some reason.
hmm,
Yeah, so for let's say you want a similar size as what you're having now, you probably pay 50% more for a condominium in Thailand compared to the same square feet for a house, and then you have
that
land,
is
which is
weird. Is
weird.
that because of
Yeah,
it's closer to downtown or something? Is that why?
yeah. So most of the skyscrapers, they're very favorably located, right? They're close to public transportation and stuff, and usually the houses are built a little bit outside. So I would have to take my motorbike for about 5 to 10 minutes to go to public transportation, so I can go into the city. Because if I take my motorbike or a car into the city, dude, it will take an hour. It's too much
Yeah,
traffic. And even the motorbike,
yeah,
I can go in between the cars, right? But that's risky, and my wife doesn't really like it. So
yeah. I
we'll
bet she
take the
doesn't, dude.
SkyTrain. Yeah, we'll take the SkyTrain.
My parents tell me at least once a month, please never buy a motorcycle. And I'm like, don't
Yeah,
worry, I won't. Because I
I
see, I
won't.
mean, LA traffic is horrendous. If you want to go
Yeah,
downtown from like 12 p.m. to like 7 p.m., that's a huge range of time. And that whole time, it's just horrendous. But especially around
yeah,
rush hour, it's just like standstill traffic. But I see some of these bikes swerving through cars, and I'm like, dude, not everyone's paying attention. You might be paying attention on your bike,
yeah.
but I see people swerve into another lane all the time because they want to try to get home 10 seconds faster.
Yeah.
And,
So thank God for Gorilla Mind Respawn, so I can take that before I start. So my reaction time is nice and fast.
that's
No, but I
way
do
better.
this. I do this all the time, but in between the cars, because the cars are so close together, you literally have this much space outside of your steering wheel. So I go
Yeah.
maybe 20 kilometers an hour, or what is that, 15 miles an hour in
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
the
Like
cars,
12.
which is better than standing still. And then once you get to the front, right, at the stoplight, then you have like, I don't know, a sea of motorbikes. And then I try to get all the way to the front so you can go like 50 until the next stoplight, which is, I don't know, the half a mile away.
Yeah. I know. It's the same way here. Dude, there is nothing that enrages me more than sitting in traffic and not moving, especially when I need to get somewhere on time. Because
Yeah.
you put it in your phone. Sometimes I'll put, and I don't know why I haven't learned my lesson yet, but I'll put an address in my phone at 9 p.m. And oh, it's 20 minutes away. Okay, well, I'll leave 30 minutes before just in case there's traffic. And then the next day when I actually have to go there, it's like 50 minutes to get there. I'm like, what the fuck? It was 20 minutes yesterday. What happened? Oh, that's right. I'm living in LA. I'm not living in
Yeah,
Houston anymore.
man.
Yeah, and I'll just be
Yeah,
sitting in
that's so
these
much
fucking.
that I hate traffic, dude. I hate traffic. But I don't drive
Yeah,
car here. If I drive car, I'll rent a driver, right? Or just get a taxi or a Grab or whatever. And then I'll
right.
work on my phone because I know it's going to take long.
Yeah, yeah.
But the
How long have you
Grabs
been living
18 years.
there? 18 years, and you moved from where?
Holland. So I came here the first time when I was about your age, like I was 23 or 24 when I came to Thailand the first time. And then I was
Okay.
already graduated and I was making good money as a business consultant. A little bit less as what you're paying at rent now. But I think with inflation, I think I was making about the same as you're paying in rent right now. So back then, that was good money
Oh yeah.
being employed.
Well, especially
And
living over there because isn't the cost of living somewhat low? Am I right
yeah,
about
back
that?
then it was very, very cheap. So I negotiated a deal with my boss. Said, listen, I'm doing some remote projects for 6 months. Why don't I do a remote project in Thailand? Right, I'll
Mm,
deliver. I'll attend all the meetings. Right, I'll make sure that everything is good. If you need me to fly back, I'll fly back. But if I'm doing remote work for a consultancy, then might as well do that remote work in Thailand. So I was like, yeah, but you got to deliver. So I over delivered. I worked my fucking ass off, and I made sure that
mm,
all the deadlines were met way early. And then I was able to stay here for a couple months at a time, making European salary with the most favorable exchange rate ever. For €1, you would get like 52 baht, and now it's like 36. So
mm.
and of course prices went up. So back then, even if I made like a couple $1,000s a month, I could live like a fucking god.
Yeah.
No, really, you could do whatever,
No,
dude. And it
no.
didn't even take. Go ahead,
I
go
was
ahead.
just asking because I saw, and I don't know how much I can really trust the stuff I see on social media, but I saw
Mm,
someone giving a condo tour in Thailand, in I think Bangkok. Like it was not,
yeah,
it was not out in the boon. It was like in the city, and they get, oh, it's got an infinity pool and it's 2,500 square feet, and look at the dining room, and it's
yeah,
the equivalent of 800 USD a month. And I'm like,
yeah.
what,
That's still
dude?
the case. That's still the case.
So is that why you decided to settle down there mainly?
Yeah,
Or
because your money goes so much further. You can literally do whatever, right? Holland is a bit, I know, a lot of restrictions, right? And then even if you make good money, people are not happy for you because they try to level everything out with the taxes and also socially, right? That, oh, you're doing well, but then you can't show off. And not that I'm a flashy guy, but of course, if you work hard and you make good money, then you would at least like to bring that up in a conversation sometimes to kind of
Mhm.
be surrounded with more successful people, but nobody really wants to. It's like everybody wants to be average. So I had to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
out for me to be surrounded by people who want to be more than average.
Mhm.
And the only reason I saw doing that was moving to Thailand. And of course, in Thailand, everybody's kind of in the same boat. We come here, we want to start over, and everybody's very, motivated, and or at least the people in Bangkok, the people in Pattaya and Phuket are kind of floating around. Right, it's too much entertainment there. But the people that I usually meet, they're just, yeah, they want the same as what you did with Soosh, right? You come together, you make it happen, and then your life levels up. So I felt that Thailand was the only place for me to level up with the limited funds that I had. Dubai wasn't really a thing. America seemed too, I don't know, too much out there, and I was too young. Right, so going to Las Vegas, for example, at age 24, I don't know, I probably self destruct. Living
Well,
there.
Vegas, yeah, anyone would,
Yeah,
dude. You go to
right,
the Vegas
exactly.
Strip and you'll lose all your money that you made.
But Bangkok is the same, right? If you want to go crazy, you can, right? We have fucking nightlife and entertainment,
Mhm,
and it's madhouse, really, if you want to.
mhm.
But you can also live the usual bodybuilding life, and that usually keeps you on track. So I decided to move here, and I was making that European salary. I went back a couple times, and then I lost my job in the economic crisis of 2009. And then I
Mm.
traveled through Asia for a year, and in that moment, I decided, you know what, I'm never going to work for anybody else. So when I met my wife, I started coaching, and then after that, I always made my own money,
Mm.
so
So
I
it
didn't have
sounds
to go
that
back.
the way you said you wanted to be surrounded by more people kind of starting from scratch and starting like
Yeah.
really building their own life, you make it seem as though Thailand is that's the default place that people go to. Is there a reason for that? Is it mainly just the cost of living? Because I've
Yeah,
never.
cost of living.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So,
it
and some
wasn't.
people go
So,
to Cambodia, some people go to Laos. Like, if you want to start over, but your funds are limited, in Thailand and Southeast Asia in general, your funds go a very long way. Some people go to China, some people go to Philippines. But let's say you have, I don't know, $10,000 to your name. You could live here for a year without any additional. Yeah, and still have a good time, dude. You could bodybuild, you could eat healthy, you could go out once a week, you could pay like for some sort of cheap rental place, right? And in the first year or first 2 years, who cares? Right? We all have to struggle and
I'm gonna be your
make
neighbor
ends
soon, dude.
meet.
You keep talking like this.
Yeah, come over. You'll love it here. But the
I
hard
bet I
part is
would.
the hard part is doing collabs. Like I think one of the reasons why
Right.
I'm not growing as fast is because I can barely collab. There's nobody here. Noel Diesel was here for a while. I tried to ask him for a podcast, but he was maybe a little bit hesitant because my platform is all about drugs. Right? And then, I was able to, collaborate here and there with Joe Statics and Tony, but Tony has a bit of a different audience, so might not be a good collaboration there. And that's about
Yeah.
it. Right? That's and then you're dependent on people moving through. And I sincerely thought about moving to Las Vegas and Dubai for collaborations to grow faster. Then
So why
again,
Vegas? Because
I
that's
like it
like,
there. It's so much fun.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean,
so
it
much
is.
fun. Great gyms, big bodybuilding community, great restaurants. I mean, I'm spoiled now. Like in Thailand, I can do whatever. So if I move somewhere, I need to do whatever I want, and I
Mhm.
think I can only do that in Vegas and Dubai.
Yeah. Well, Dubai's looking like a good spot too, man. I've
Yeah.
been there
Have
a
you
couple.
been?
Have you been
You've been
there?
there, right? Yeah, you met Larry Wheels there. I think the first time.
Yeah, I've been there twice, and the only thing that is a little off-putting is being aware of the fact that you are very much in a very regimented caste
Hmm.
system, class system, and there's like the utopia of Dubai, and then
Yeah.
you cross a border, and there's the not utopia of Dubai, and it's like, am I an asshole for living here? That might be how I felt if I were to move there.
Mm.
I don't know, but it's just something that I noticed because I went over to that area to get food with someone, and ironically, the food in that poor district was blew all the food in the nice district out of the water.
Yeah.
It was amazing. They served us a whole sheep, a whole sheep. I went
Holy
there with
shit.
someone. I met him, dude. He recognized me in Dubai Mall, and he said, "You're James English." Oh, dude, I know this place. It's on the other side of town, and it's I think Syrian food. I think it was Syrian, maybe
Oh yeah, but
Pakistani.
that's amazing. Yeah, Syria,
Yeah,
Pakistani, Iranian food. I mean, it's the best. It's like all protein, but it's flavored perfectly. A good amount of vegetables
yeah,
on the side. I mean, we go for Lebanese and Iranian food here in Bangkok all the time, man. It's the
yeah,
best.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure you probably have this kind of food all the time, but
Mm.
this was like a rare kind of meal for me. And we sat flat on the ground. There weren't
Yeah,
chairs. You just
it's
sit
it's.
flat, kind of crisscross, and then they
Hmm.
bring this food out in huge servings, and everyone kind of shares it. And it was
Yeah,
just like the physical embodiment of flavor. It was so good. But
yeah, we get
yeah,
it. Asia is
that's
the
the only.
best for this kind of stuff, man. Like eating with large groups of people, and the cuisines all the way from the Arab countries all the way to the Asian countries. It's all beautiful, man. It's all
Yeah,
great. And I'm
yeah,
just so used to it. But I remember when I was in Chicago, that was the only place I found a Lebanese restaurant in all of America. And then I went there and I ate some good Lebanese food, but I didn't really see it. Even though there's a good amount of Arabs living in the US, there seems to be not so much Arab food.
yeah. There's a decent amount where I live, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it's on the same level as the food in
Yeah,
Dubai. I mean, Arabic food is just, and it's all high in protein too. Like
yeah,
you don't have to find the high protein food on the menu. It's all meat. It's like, wow, this is
yeah,
beautiful.
right.
But yeah, Dubai is great. It is great, and it's if you can get over that aspect of it, it is a great place to live. And there's like no crime. I mean, the way Oliver Forslund, my friend, he lives there, And the way he's described it is like you can pull up to a restaurant in a Rolls Royce,
Mhm.
open the door, leave the car running, and go have food and come back out, and you don't even
Yeah,
have to worry about the car, you know?
yeah.
So
Because
we'll
everybody's
see.
rich there. Everybody's fucking rich. I mean, the
And
taxes.
young.
I mean,
I noticed
yeah, yeah. A lot of people
they're all
moved there.
young
Yeah.
people.
And they
But yeah,
offer
there's
like opportunities to set up like business accounts in the trade free zone, so your corporate tax is minimized. And a lot of
Mhm.
guys that are, I mean, I know Noel did it, and Joe did it. They all went there, to open up their businesses, and then you get some sort of residency, whether that's in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, and that makes it very, very easy to collect. Of course, your passport is a little bit more difficult because you're taxed globally, but a lot of countries that's not the case, and you just move out, you're unregistered as a resident, you set your residency up somewhere else, and then you open up your business or somewhere else where you want, and then you
Mhm.
shuttle all the money through, and you keep most of it. It's
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's usually the next step. First, you got to earn money, and then you got to find a way to keep it all.
Yeah. And that's the hard part. And
That's the hard part.
it really sucks like looking at the state of the city I'm in and then being like, wow, I have to give like half my money away.
Yeah,
For
this is
what?
one of
What
the
are they
reasons
doing?
why I left. This is one of the reasons why I left Holland. You give half your money away, and you don't get anything back, and the situation doesn't improve. So after 5 years of
Yeah.
paying so much taxes, I'm like, I think I can pay taxes somewhere else where they treat me a little bit better. So I moved out.
Yeah. And then you go to a place like Dubai, and last time I checked, there was no income tax there. They just had I
Mhm.
think, a flat 5% sales tax and everything.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
friggin' utopia. Now I know they've
Yeah.
got like there's a lot of money and there's money from tourism and there's money from oil, but still, it's like they're not taking half your paycheck. You can keep all your money there. And and it's like the cleanest place I've ever been to. No crime, beautiful weather,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
convincing
so
myself to
all
move.
you have to do is travel and then look for places where you're treated best, and then decide
Mhm.
if you want to settle or not. But and again, Dubai would be great for collaborations. In Thailand, not so much. Right? I mean, I'm here, and a couple other guys are here, but that's about it. So you run out of collabs fast, and
Mhm.
yeah. But if you're already settled, and I know plenty of guys that move here, like Joe said, he came here with 400,000 subs, and he was able to get almost or followers on Instagram, and he was able to almost get 10 million all by himself without
Yeah.
doing any collaborations. So it is possible. But if you
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to do collabs, then Thailand might not be good, but I think all things considering, it's the best place to live. And I've been all over the world. I've been to Dubai 3 times. I've been to the US twice. All over Asia, all over Europe. And Thailand is, in my opinion, the best place to live. All things considering.
Mhm. It's just yeah, my family would be so far. That's the only thing. That's the
Yeah,
only thing, man. And convincing
yeah.
my girlfriend to leave her family, like I don't want to do
Come on
that
a holiday
either.
first. You don't have to move. I mean, come on a holiday first.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I will just get out more anyway.
yeah,
All I do is
that's good.
sleep and train here, so there's more to life than that.
That's our life. That's the life we chose.
It is. It is. Yeah.
You got your IFB Pro card what 2 years ago, and then you had a
It
little bit of a
was
setback. What
almost two
happened
years
there?
ago at this point. About a year and 9 months, year and 8 months ago. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So throughout the entire prep, I basically the whole prep, I felt pain in my adductor. It wasn't anything
Hmm.
crazy. And as you know, if you take a 2 week rest every time you feel a pain as a bodybuilder, you're never going to make any progress because there's always going to be something that's a little sore that's bothering
Yeah.
you.
Mm.
And you got to know, and you got to know when to take time off and when not to. And it's very hard to draw that line. And I've had hundreds of pains where, oh, my pec has been sore for the past week. My shoulder feels a little off. Well, I'm going to train through it. And then those pains go away after a week. And it's like, okay,
Right.
I'm glad I didn't take time off for that. This wasn't the case. And I kind of knew that after it had been painful for, 5, 6 weeks. I'm like, okay, this is probably like I probably strained something, but I'm just going to take it easy, keep training my legs, but just try to take some stress off the adductor. And I'm going to finish this fucking prep.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think I was going to get my pro card. I wasn't even trying to get it. I just wanted to finish what I started.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to win my first show. I won the first show. And funny story, after I won the local show, I went and had a cheat meal the next day, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like I'd already finished in my mind, and my coach is like, what
Yeah.
the fuck are you doing? You have nationals next week. I'm like, yeah, what am I going to get my pro card or something? Come on. And then he's like, dude, you got to lock in because you really do have a shot at it. And I said, okay,
We're
I'll
talking
do it for
about
you.
Kyle Wilkes, right?
Kyle Wilkes, yeah.
Yeah.
And you would have been my coach if I'd come to you a little earlier, a couple of
I
years
know.
earlier.
I know. I was.
'Cause I reached out to Steve.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about this, and then I told you, I said it's better to have a local coach because this is your first couple of shows. And I'm happy you went with Kyle because he was there backstage helping you, right? So it takes a lot of nerves. Takes a lot of nerves away. I would not be able to fly there and then dealing with the time zone stuff and just going by picture. So you made the correct choice, right? You obviously turned your pro, and going with me for the off season would have been good, but for a show I would. And by that time I wanted to retire anyway.
Right.
It's kind of done with this whole competition stuff.
No, that was definitely good. It was good advice because having someone there is essential. If anyone watching, if you're thinking about competing, you got to have a friend who competes backstage with you. I think it makes it much less stressful. If you're really good at dealing with stress, go for it solo. But dude, if Kyle wasn't there, he wasn't there for my first show, but that wasn't as stressful. It was smaller and, but the second show I just sat in my room and ate exactly what he told me to eat. And he did the rest for me. He gave my posing music to the judges. He set up whatever needed to be set up. He told me everything I needed to do, came to my room. Here's your next meal. He would leave, it was like full service kind of. But yeah, so I've dealt with this pain. And then after I did the shows, I'm like, okay, I'll take a few weeks off of legs and kind of let this adductor heal up. It's probably nothing. And then my friend came and visited me, and he's super into like power building. And he's like, oh, dude, I got a sumo deadlift session today. I'm going to hit a PR. Do you want to train with me? And I'm like, well, you're visiting me, of course. And I'm like, well, I've taken 3 weeks off. My leg's probably better. It's probably just a mild strain. And that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Cause I think, long story short, I had an adductor longus tear as well as an oblique tear. So it's called a sports hernia. It's not really a hernia, but what happens is your adductor will tear first and it will throw your pubic bone a little bit off balance. And then very shortly after that, your oblique will tear as well because everything's off balance. So turns out I had both of these things going on. And I think at that point, I probably could have just fixed it with physical therapy. But instead, I went and did this fucking deadlift session with my friend, and I hit a PR, but then I couldn't finish the workout. I'm like, oh no, whatever's happened here this is pretty bad. So it was. I'll try to summarize it, but it was basically.
And that's after 3 weeks. After 3 weeks off, you hit a PR.
Yeah, stupid. I mean, stupid shit. I'm not saying it was smart at all. I just,
no,
my
but
friend
it's
was
still
there.
freaky. Like you're injured. You took 3 weeks off and you hit a PR. I mean, it does show. It does show that you're kicking ass in the gym. I mean, it is an accolade.
And
I would say
it also helps to be, to have a friend there that's also hitting a PR. It's like it's like taking another scoop of pre-workout on its own and having the music going and everything. But yeah, long story short, the next like September, October, November, December, January, February, and then I got the surgery in April. So like 8 months was me kind of in denial for the first month that I'd really hurt myself. And I'm like, oh no, I'll just take some rest time and it'll heal. And then I didn't have a doctor. So I'm like, okay, something's wrong. I need an MRI. I don't know how to get one. You can't just walk in and ask for one. You need a doctor, and then you need to get a referral to an orthopedic surgeon, and then they've got to give you a referral to an MRI. It's this whole friggin' process. I don't even have insurance. So it took like
you could have flown.
MRI.
You could have flown here, you could have flown to Thailand, walked into a hospital, told the doctor your problem, asked for an MRI, and you would be out the door with results same day, and the flight, the hotel, and the MRI would be cheaper than doing it in the United States.
Well, I should have asked you, dude.
Yeah, I know.
And the kicker is that the first MRI was too blurry, so they had to take a second one. And the second one kind of diagnosed the problem, but then he wanted to see the nerve damage that I had. So then I went in for a third one. And all of the, you know how scheduling is in the US, it's like every
Month.
every time he'd schedule me for another one, it was like another dagger in the heart, because that's another like 3 weeks I have to wait. And so then, okay, I need another fucking MRI. And then I'd go in, and then it's like, okay, now I can finally officially diagnose the problem. But yeah, long story short, it took like 8 months to actually, from fucking it up on sumo deadlift to getting surgery, was
Mhm.
about that long. If I'd
Yeah.
handled things better, if I'd just flown to Thailand, it wouldn't have taken as long. But
Yeah, it's a live and
yeah,
learn.
it was a pretty invasive surgery. So they have to cut open your lower ab, kind of right next to your
Mm.
dick, and they have to
Yeah.
sew up your oblique. And then they also had to cut out a nerve, so I have no feeling of like right over the scar. And then they have to reach through the incision and grab your
Mhm.
adductor and pull it back up, and then drill it back into the bone, and
Yeah.
kind of deal with both tears at the same time. So yeah,
Man.
and I've,
And then you
I'm
can't
not really
walk,
prone
and
to
then
depression or
peeing is
anything.
difficult, right? So you have that like whole month
Yeah,
of like
dude.
being fucking invalid.
Yeah, and already, I'd already been lost a bunch of size, and my legs had already shrunk, and then it's another 12 weeks. But actually, that was like the happiest I'd been in a long time. Even though I was looking
Mm.
at a 12-week recovery, it's like getting the diagnosis and then getting set up for surgery, I was already feeling better. The most
Yeah.
depressed I was in this whole ordeal, and probably the most depressed I ever was in my whole life, was during this MRI stage where they didn't know what was wrong, but they knew something was wrong. And that I was just like, what am I doing? What's happening to my career? What's All my commissions are going down, my views are going down. I'm becoming irrelevant.
Yeah, of
Everyone's forgetting
course.
I'm never
Yeah.
going to step on the Olympia stage. Like, all these things just going through my head. And, and it stressed out my relationship with my girlfriend, because it's like,
Mm.
I'm not interested in intimacy. I'm not interested in going out on dates. I'm not interested in anything. I just want to rot. I just want to play video games and fucking rot. And it wasn't, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's the proper way to deal with things, but
No,
it
but
got
dude,
to the point.
we all go through this like you come from an extreme high, right? You're kicking ass, your commissions were on all-time high. You're an IFB
And
pro,
getting a
you look
pro
fucking
card.
stellar. And you pro card,
Yeah.
right? And then you tear your shit, and within 6 months everything falls apart. I mean, it's
Yeah,
rough
dude.
on any person. It's rough on any
Yeah.
person, it's
Yeah.
yeah. So we all get our like little
All
down
about,
period where we smoke weed and play video games for a while, and then after a while you got to kind of get out of that. You got
well,
to get
because
back into the real
all
world.
about like post show depression, because you've coached a
Yeah,
bunch of people. Now
yeah,
imagine post show depression, and on top of it, your whole shit is snapped up, and like you actually can't even train a little bit, and maintain
yeah.
kind of the gains you have. So I
And
went
your
from
money
like
goes
2.
down, and that's even
Yeah,
worse.
and that it was a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to sit here and give you a sob story, but it was tough. And then
Yeah.
like I ended up getting down. I think the lowest I got to was like 175, up from my
Mm-hmm.
previous high of like 202, 203. So I
Mm-hmm.
lost a bunch of muscle, and I'll send you a video after if you want to like overlay it. If you want to make a
Mm-hmm.
note at 103,
Yeah.
of what I looked like at my smallest. I was small, man. And when
Did you
what's
ever see
crazy
those?
is
Did you ever see those
what
pictures of me after the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, where I fasted all my muscle away?
I don't know if I have.
No,
I see a lot of good stuff, but I don't know if I've seen those pictures.
I think I was like I was like 80 kilos or something. Yeah, I was about 170 also, but I looked like a skinny boy. It was terrible. I'm
Dude,
sure you had the same thing, right? Because you don't eat so much, and all your muscle is going away, and your face is like emaciated, and you're
look,
like, oh
I don't want
man,
to be an iPad kid right now, but I really do want to show you. Yeah, okay, I found it
yeah,
already. You
uh,
can probably just see. Oh, look
huh,
at this. Well, it is kind of hard to see. Let me turn the brightness down here.
yeah, oh
Look
yeah,
at me. I still have a little bit of delt and trap,
yeah. Are you trying to
but look
promote
at
the
that.
shirt in a
Yeah,
smaller size,
I'm
probably?
depressed as fuck. And look, my legs are gone, and I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, please use my code. I'm fucking broke.
Ah, it's horrible, dude. And that's why it's so hard sometimes on social media, right? When you lose all your gains and you see your affiliate sales and your income just drop, because a lot of it is dependent on how you look. It's rough, man. And
Yeah,
then it's even more rough when you're already going through a rough patch. That's why social media is sometimes very, very hard on you. People don't realize
I
this,
think
but
I think, and I want to get back to that too.
yeah.
But I think part of the commissions, it's really it is about how you look, but it's really more about how much content you make. It's just that um, those two are very tied because
Mm-hmm.
you're very motivated to make content when you look
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And when I was on prep,
Yeah.
I was doing a YouTube video every single day. We were doing the daily vlogs and workouts, and I was just like a content machine because I'm like, look at me. I gotta like I want to document this, you know?
Right.
But then when I'm all depressed and small, I probably could have kept my commissions higher if I had
Mm.
just snapped out of it and said, you know what, I'm going to show people my rehab. I'm going to show them what workouts I'm doing, even though I look much smaller. My true fans would have still watched, and you know my sales
Right.
would have gone down a bit, but it's because when my physique crashed, my mental crash, it was all just one big downward wave, and I kind of just fell off the face of the earth. So
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's all just one thing. But yeah, that's social media for you, dude.
Yeah, that's part of the game. Man, that's it can be a very good high, but it can also be an extreme low because everything is tied into it. And then of course if you
Hmm.
don't feel like posting and then your commissions goes down, then you really don't feel like posting and it's like this vicious spiral downwards.
Yeah,
I've gone through a couple of these periods also where I'm like I couldn't produce content. I just didn't feel like it a couple of years back. And then your
yeah.
revenue literally shrivels up to half. And then you're like, fuck. And then you
Thank you.
begrudgingly post something. You got a intermission?
My girlfriend brought me water.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks,
Good
G.
service. So brought you the pink cup. Put put
Yeah.
put this man in his place.
I
so
like
so
it.
you got, yeah, it's cute. So you got that surgery out of the way. How long how long did it take you before you got really back into a commission and kicking ass in the gym again? Because I always knew you was a strong as fuck guy. I mean, you lift weights like twice as heavy as I do. Um, and I was up to 260 pounds at one point.
Damn. So what are you, 5'10", 5'11"?
5'9", 5'9".
Oh, you okay. So
Yeah, we're about the
260
same
and
height.
5'9"?
Yeah, I used to
Jesus
be a big boy.
Christ.
My head was this big. It was great.
Well, look at me. Look at the difference in our face shape. You look all young and healthy, and I've got this fucking because
Yeah, but
I'm on
you're
the
off season. You're trying to grow, right? I mean, you're on a cycle. I haven't
yeah,
touched shit for a year, and I'm in caloric restriction the whole time because I need to stay lean. So so
yeah,
so tell us about like the comeback, because now I see you kicking ass and wrestling all these dudes with arm wrestling
sure.
and
Yeah.
kicking ass.
So, quick side note,
Yeah.
it's kind of ironic that when I was at my most depressed and
Hmm.
smallest, I actually looked the most handsome because
Yeah,
I lost all this size. And when you lose, whether it's fat or muscle, when you lose weight, your face just shrinks. So it's like that was the only thing. Yeah, I'd be like, man, I'm depressed, but man, my jawline looks good. you know. So uh, so anyway, the comeback, I really was starting to get excited at this point after like the 5-6 week post surgery mark because I
hmm,
knew I've got those satellite cells and everything, and the muscle cells are still there. I mean, I've atrophied a bit, but muscle memory is a huge thing, and I've seen
right.
it happen plenty of times. I've had dark periods from the gym before. Um, and I'm going to hop back on the sauce because at this point, I've been a little depressed twerp and I've been on what's supposed to be 125 mgs of test a week, but I literally was missing half my pins because I'm like, what the fuck is even the
Oh,
point of doing all
yeah.
this shit? So I really was like realistically on 60, 70 milligrams of test a week. Um, and that probably contributed to the mental sides and everything. Like you said, dude,
I'm
it's
sure.
a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Everything goes down, and then you have no motivation to do anything, and you have no dopamine. So then you don't pin, and then you have less testosterone. So then it's even worse. And
Yeah.
anyway, around
And
like
before you know
once
it,
it
you're like
started,
a little girl.
yeah, getting pink cups served to you from your girlfriend,
Yeah. This is my
and
life now.
well, now I'm a big boy getting pink cups
Yeah,
served
now
to me
you
from
now
my
you
girlfriend.
now you're swole. Yeah, you filled out. Nice work.
So I came back, and I mean, I just had the biggest fire under me ever. I knew I was small, but I'm like, I'm gonna put all my size back on in a month. Just you guys watch.
Yeah.
So, and it did from the moment I started training legs again. it took only about a month to put all my upper body size back on. Legs took a little longer because, there's scar tissue and you're very careful and you
Right.
work up super slowly with your weight, like hardly anything per workout. And you just slowly build it back up. And I really did take that seriously because I did not want to injure myself again. I knew that would be it. If I snap my shit up again, that's actually probably the end of my career as I know it.
Yeah.
So a year completely dark is just a bit much. So it really only took, once I started back on, I came back with 200 tests, 200 EQ. That was, I was planning on doing 500 because I was just wanted
To start.
all my games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. And then Derek probably reeled you back in. It's like, no.
Yeah, Derek, yeah, exactly. And Kyle too. They were both like,
Yeah.
listen, man, you don't need to do that. You've been on like 60, 70 tests for the past year, basically.
Yeah.
You can start with 200, 200, or I think they said 300, 300 actually. And I'm like, you know what? They're right. And I'm going to take it even a step further. I'm going to tone it back 200, 200. And it was great. I was eating much more and training again, put all my size back on. And then once I moved to LA, I kind of plateaued with my weight around 200 pounds, which was my old peak. And I'm like, well, I need to go hard or go home. So I'm not endorsing what I'm about to say. I'm just telling you what I did. I watched the Sam Sulek video. And
He did exactly what he never talks about.
It was a full day of eating. And
okay.
And it was when he was on a bulk, and I'd seen how much he'd grown. And I'm like, okay, he's going to eat like a bunch of chicken and rice and beef. And instead it's like, okay, what's up guys? Meal one, I'm going to have a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts and a half gallon of chocolate milk. And I'm like, and he does that for like every meal, just dirty as shit, eating so many calories. And I'm like, well, that could work. I'm plateaued right here. And that's what I started doing, man. And you probably don't have Snapchat or follow me on Snapchat, but it's kind of become a running joke on my Snapchat. People will call me the bloat god because I just turned from somewhat handsome into the most bloated fuck, like way worse than I am now in a matter of like a month. And I put on like 10 pounds in about a month, which, when you're already muscular, like 10 pounds in a month is a good bit, especially as like a hard gainer. But it was just like I cranked the gear up a bit to 300 tests, 300 EQ. And then I started doing like mass gainer again, which I haven't touched mass gainer since I was a little boy, bro, when I like first joined the gym, and then you kind of learn like you don't use mass gainer if you're a real bodybuilder. And then I came back around and I'm like, yes, you fucking do. And I started doing like mass gainer every day. And any pastries I had laying around, they'd go in the blender too. So if I had like some Oreos laying around, I'd throw like 3 or 4 Oreos in there. If I had some chocolate cake laying around, in goes the chocolate cake, whatever it is. If I had carrot cake laying around one time, so I used the Gorilla Mind pumpkin protein.
Right. Yeah, it goes well. Yeah, it goes well. I used to smoke cigarettes as a party smoker when I was like 16, 15. I used to go to all these crazy parties in Europe, when I was very young with a fake ID, and then, take party drugs and have fun, and then to be like a party smoker there because you're on so much MDMA that you need something to do.
We can talk about that too.
Yeah, I can talk about that. And then after that, I kind of stopped. I smoke cigars now. Yeah, I smoke cigars, but I'm old.
So you're a fucking certified badass, basically.
I try to be. Yeah, I pretend to be sometimes.
Yeah, well, I've actually never smoked a cigarette in my life. And at this point, I plan on doing that, keeping that going, only because my dad's mother was a chain smoker and smoked in the house all the time. And he still has a cough to this day from her. And my dad is 76 years old. So he had me very late. So he still has a cough to this day. So like almost out of respect for him, I'm like, you know what? Never going to touch one. Because she forced one down his throat, like forced him to smoke one. So weird mother.
Yeah.
So
No,
Yeah.
I only smoke cigars out of the house, so maybe once a month or something. I go out with a couple
Hmm.
of friends and or I smoke one on the porch when I'm skyping some of my friends that live abroad, and then it's like a little cigar evening that way. But so you
Yeah.
take the nicotine for like cognitive enhancing benefits?
Yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
I really only have them at night. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
During the day, it's almost like I'm going off my own battery, and then at
Mm-hmm.
night, it's like a bit of a pick me up. Especially on podcasts, I like it,
Yeah.
or leaving the gym because it's just like you take it, it kind of gives you a
Mm-hmm.
buzz, and it also calms you down at the same time. It's weird in that way. I mean,
Yeah.
you've
True.
had nicotine before, so
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of perfect for podcasts.
Okay. Good. Enjoy. Enjoy.
I took it out.
Let's let's reel back to your dirty bulk. Like, is that still going on? Are you still adding in the cake to your shakes and that kind of stuff, or what's
I've
going
dialed
on
it
there?
back a bit. I got some blood work done, and actually, it
Uh
was
oh.
funny because I teased our podcast on Snapchat,
Uh
and someone responded and they said this dude just scheduled a health check because he's dying, and he turned it into a podcast
yeah.
because I just got my blood work done. So yeah, I mean, I won't go over all of it on the podcast, but
Let's hear
my
it,
my
dude. Let's
you
see. I
want to hear
love
it?
fucking
Oh
blood
yeah,
work,
actually,
especially
what am I talking
especially
about, dude?
guys that are transparent about. So let's hear it. How bad are the triglycerides? Like
You
500?
are the guy, bro. You are the guy to talk to. So, um, let me get it up here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll only go over the things out of range.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Yeah,
Um,
we'll be here for
well,
2 hours.
I will say my ALT was normal, but my AST
Uh,
was slightly elevated because I trained the night before. I didn't know
that's
you
fine.
weren't supposed to do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
kind of silly of me, but yeah, the guy there, which it's crazy because I got blood work done, went out and
Mm-hmm.
got coffee with my girlfriend, and then my results were back, and I just drove right back to the place, and he went over them with
Oh,
me, and he
that's
said, "Yeah,
good.
your liver's good. The AST is probably a bit high just because you trained, but nothing to worry about. Calcium was a bit high because I abused Tums, so I
Yeah.
had
Okay.
heartburn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Creatinine, of
So
course.
to circle back on that on the Tums, right? Part of that is the food, but also part of that is the steroids, and you can actually offset that with apple cider vinegar with every meal because you increase your stomach acidity, and then the mouth of the stomach stays closed, so you don't need to use an antacid or proton pump inhibitor,
Yeah,
and because that
and
will mess with your calcium, yeah, and magnesium levels.
Because I've heard the proton pump inhibitors are really not good long term. Because can't they
Yeah.
lead to like bone degradation?
Yeah,
Or
because you
am I?
don't absorb the calcium and the magnesium, but then the Tums it just lowers your stomach acidity, so it
It's a
kind
short
of
term fix.
yeah, it's a short term fix. So you actually need to increase your stomach acidity. I have a video
Mm.
about this. It's called
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
acid reflux, the cure for it or something. Cure for acid
Yeah,
reflux. Yeah.
and on top of it, genetically, I've had it since I was a kid, so it's a bad
Oh, really?
combination.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think I just got a weak valve up there or something. So the sphincter doesn't close tightly
Yeah.
enough.
So
But
if you increase your stomach acid, it will probably stay closed.
also, I take Cialis sometimes, and I've heard that
Yeah, that
can
makes it worse.
relax it.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
makes it way
right,
worse.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
It does. It makes it way worse. And actually, for
yeah.
the first time ever, the other night I woke up and I had to throw up because I'd
I've
had this
had that.
really fatty ribeye steak right before bed, and
Mm.
I'd taken Cialis for my workout, and I woke up a few hours later and just puked because it was just like I mean, the steak had come all the way back up to here. So yeah, it was awful. But
Yeah.
okay, so we'll continue going over it. So the guy
Mhm.
was right. I scheduled a health check with you by accident.
There you go. Yeah. No, you're not the
So
first.
my creatinine was 1.45. The top of the reference range is 1.2, but that's
Yeah.
from what I
Train
understand,
hard.
just lifting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and lifting the night before, especially. Potassium K plus was a bit out of range, not much. I'm on telmisartan, so that
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure has an effect, right?
Yeah. Were you
Like
hydrated before going in for blood work?
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the most hydrated person. I'm drinking a bunch of water right now because I'm talking,
Mm.
but I should probably drink more water. And honestly, man, most
Yeah.
of the liquid I consume is sweetened iced tea. It's not good.
James.
Hey, I'm
James.
not
No,
endorsing any of this, Steve. I'm not endorsing any of this. I'm just being
what are you
transparent.
doing? What are you doing?
Listen, I have a very scientific reason for taking the iced tea. Okay,
so you
it
can,
tastes
yeah.
really good.
All right, yeah,
It
evidence
tastes
based.
really good. It
Tastes.
goes with everything. You can have a steak, a little bit of iced tea, very refreshing.
Are you adding in
So
potassium salt to your carbs, or no?
I take the Gorilla electrolytes,
Okay, that's
maybe
it,
like
right?
4 days a week.
Yeah, that's not
But
so
no,
much
I
extra
don't.
potassium. Try to track your potassium intake from all the carb sources that you have, and then see if you need to make any adjustments. Because of course, chronically elevated potassium is not good for your heart.
Right.
Um, yeah,
And do you think the telmisartan plays a role in this?
Telmisartan is known to increase serum potassium levels. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So
So
how much are you
I'm
taking?
taking 20,
20,
20, 20. Yeah.
20. Okay, that's not much. No, that's not much. Probably need to
But
drink more water and just check if your potassium intake is not too high.
okay. Yeah. So he wants to send me to a preventative cardiologist just to
Hmm.
get an EKG, which is something I kind of vouched for as well because
Yeah,
blood work is good, but I want to get some imaging done as well. And really, I don't want to run into issues down the road. And I
right.
kind of went off the rails for the past few months and just said, I'm getting big by any means necessary. And now that I've kind of succeeded in that, now it's
Hmm.
time to reel it back in just a bit
Right.
and focus more on the really important stuff. So
Yep.
estradiol was 53.7.
All right. Perfect.
I don't really take an AI
Hmm.
because I'm on HCG. I do 350 IUs every other day just to kind
Hmm.
of keep my balls working. I don't do that year round. It's actually
Hmm.
the first time I've done it since I hopped on gear, which probably isn't good. But I just reached out to
Same here,
Derek and
man.
said, "Hey,
I didn't take
yeah,
it
I
for
just
10 years, and now I take it, and my fertility parameters are stellar. So even if
right."
you take a
So,
break, you can get back on it.
well, I'm still on cycle, but
Yeah.
yeah, but my balls have swelled up, like they've gotten bigger, so it seems to be working.
Good.
And yeah, I mean, the way Derek explained that is it's kind of like an oil change. It just, or it's kind of just you get the system working again to remind it,
Yeah,
hey, you got to produce some sperm because you haven't done it in a
exactly.
while.
And then by the time
Uh,
you come off, it's easier to get all your fertility parameters back. So you just keep it going with 250, 300, 350 IUs 3 times a week. And that's usually enough to sustain the function. Right? Will your
mhm.
fertility parameters be 100%? No, but it's better than zero.
Right, right, of
Yeah.
course. So, and I've heard that HCG is a little more uncertain in terms of how it's going to affect your hair and estrogen, acne, that kind of stuff, because it has so many downstream effects. But so far,
Hmm.
I've been fine.
Yeah.
Um, Estradiol, so yeah, a little bit out of range, but my test is also very high. It actually is just off the scale. It just says greater than
Yeah.
2200. So
Yeah.
who knows what it is? So I want to keep the estrogen a little bit on the higher side because of that. I've heard
Hmm.
it's good for cardio
Yeah.
protection, nerve protection.
Absolutely. You're right.
And I'm also on EQ, which antagonizes estrogen, so I figure that
Yeah.
should be good enough. And
Hmm.
just for transparency, my cycle right now is 300 tests, 300 EQ, and 150 Deca per week.
Hmm.
I added in the Deca recently for I just felt like I needed some more joint cushioning,
Hmm.
so I added in like a really like a therapeutic dose. Cholesterol. Okay, this is the part. Try not to have friggin' heart attack reading this, but
Uh-huh.
okay, my total cholesterol was 258.
Okay.
My LDL
That's all the
was
cheesecake right there.
my LDL. You want any bets? If my total is 258, what do you think my
Yeah.
LDL is?
150.
209.
Oh. Didn't Derek put you on Ezetimibe?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
When I was on the dirty bulk, I
Yeah.
was not taking Ezetimibe. I knew I had
Hmm.
some stored away somewhere, but I wasn't taking it. And then when I scheduled this blood work,
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, I should start taking Ezetimibe right now. And then I'm like, no, I shouldn't because I want to see what my levels are at in this dirty phase I'm in. I don't want to
Yeah.
artificially make them look better than they really are. So
Right.
I kind of dealt with knowing my cholesterol was probably fucked,
Hmm.
got my blood work done, and confirmed it was fucked. And then as soon as I got home, I took Ezetimibe.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, now it's time to start fixing shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so at
So, and
least
I'm
you
also
know that without the medication, it's not going to work, right? And of course, if you're dirty bulking, then yeah, you definitely need some stuff in place to keep that under control, because all the stuff that you eat have like trace amounts of butter, and it has cholesterol in it, and dietary
Mhm.
cholesterol does absorb quite readily when you're on steroids, so you need
Yeah. So
something
this
in
is something I
place.
didn't know. This is
Yeah.
something I didn't know for a long time. I guess kind of the bro science, or maybe it was established science at the time,
Mm.
was that dietary cholesterol doesn't affect serum cholesterol. And you
Not
know,
established on steroid users.
okay, so yeah, because when I talked to Derek about it,
Mm.
maybe a year ago, he was like, "Well, you should have looked at my blood work when I was eating no eggs versus eating just 3 eggs per day. My cholesterol
Hmm.
skyrocketed." And actually, I got to give credit where credit is due. Vegan Gains exposed this for me years ago, and I didn't believe him because I'm like, he's vegan. But I should have listened to
Yeah.
him. Vegan Gains, I'm sorry. He posted a study that was funded by the egg industry. And this is actually fucked.
Ah.
You've probably heard of it. It was funded by the egg
Yeah.
industry. And it showed that eating more eggs in a day does not affect serum cholesterol. And that's actually true because it is a flattening curve. What's the term?
Right.
Logarithmic, right?
Yeah. Right.
Uh, yeah. So, yes, it's true. Eating 10 eggs a day does not really increase your cholesterol more than eating 6 eggs a day. And that's the data that this egg industry funded study cherry picked. Is it just showed
Mm.
you this range and said, look, the difference between this and this, there's no difference. But if you go farther down the curve, going from 0 eggs a day up to 6, there is a drastic difference in serum cholesterol. And obviously, this study was cherry picked this way so the egg industry could
Right.
say eggs is completely fine. It's not
Don't
going to
worry
affect your
about it.
cholesterol. Go buy eggs.
Yeah.
So I'm not anti-egg. I still eat eggs,
Yeah, me
but
too.
yeah, and I think there's plenty of benefits, but the cholesterol is definitely something that, not good. So ezetimibe, from what I understand, is safer than a statin because instead of preventing your body from producing cholesterol, it simply blocks the absorption of dietary cholesterol.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's what I've been
Yeah.
taking since I got home.
Yeah.
And I do eat a lot of cholesterol. I'm on a 1 steak a day diet.
There you go.
I get
Steak and eggs.
steak sent to me from a ranch, and they're delicious, and I sous vide
Yeah.
them.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, you
And
need it. I
people
mean, you train fucking hard and heavy, and you do high reps with heavy weight. So of course you need the fuel. You need the eggs. You need the steak, and then as a result
Yeah.
of that, you might absorb more iron and cholesterol that you want, but you can inhibit the absorption with over-the-counter supplements or medications. Right? It just as a comparison point, when I did carnivore, 5,000 calories on carnivore with butter and cheese, my total cholesterol was over 400, and my LDL was 270.
So your HDL was pretty high though.
Yeah, my HDL was like, I think it's like 100 or something.
Was this on
Yeah.
gear?
Yeah, it was on 250 test.
So how did you keep your HDL? Dude, my HDL is friggin' 33. How'd you keep your HDL up?
Well, I ate 300 grams of fat per day.
And just healthy fats. That was it. I ate a lot of fat
No,
too.
it's
I
not
ate
healthy fats. It's carnivore fat. So it's all cheese, it's butter, it's fatty steak, whole eggs, salmon.
So
Salmon
am
is
I
good.
just genetically have low HDL? Because I eat a lot of butter and eggs and
No,
steak
but
and all that stuff. And
you're on 750 grams of steroids.
so what were you on, just TRT at the time or something?
Yeah, well, TRT for a 250-pound guy. Yeah, 250 test.
Okay. Okay. So you just think
So
the
it's-
increase in gear is probably responsible for
Yeah,
that.
more gear just means lower HDL. It's just unmanageable. It doesn't matter how much fish oil and healthy fats and citra bergamot and that kind of stuff you take. On TRT, I sometimes see guys with an HDL of 60 or 70, depending on their diet. But as soon as you go over TRT, it's just going to be low. The weird thing is, when I was taking 2.5 grams a test, my HDL was like 50, 52. Yeah, but that
That's
was
gotta
only
be
test.
genetic at some point.
No, yeah, and I never had problems with my lipids, but then as I got older, like the last 5 to 7 years, my lipids just got worse and worse and worse. But I'm eating better than ever. So and I'm an old fuck, man. I'm 40, so your body's going to reject all this stuff. And you have to be extra careful, right? Like at your age, even if your cholesterol is fucked for a while, it doesn't really matter because plaque buildup at your age, it doesn't really happen that often. But at my age, with all the complications and the cycles and whatever stupid stuff I used to do, it starts to compound. So you got to be extra careful. I'm sure your
Mhm.
EKG will be 100% normal with normal ejection fraction and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And mine are normal also, but I would never let my HDL come up or LDL come up like this again. You know,
Yeah. I
my
mean, it's safe
experimentation
to
days are
say
over.
your picture of health is, or your image of health is much better than mine is right now. So,
It's
um,
okay, man. I
and
mean,
also,
don't look at my health parameters when I was 260, dude. It's
yeah.
not good.
Well, well, what's weird is I talked to Derek about it because I've always just heard HDL is good cholesterol, and I still
Mhm.
believe that. But when I talked to Derek about it, he said that in studies where they have artificially increased HDL through the use of certain pharmaceutical drugs, there was no difference in health outcomes, which
Yeah.
I don't really understand that.
So, of course, like HDL, it's mostly that LDL reduction has a better outcome in health regarding cardiovascular disease than bring your HDL up. It doesn't seem to increase lifespan or influence all-cause mortality for that sense, but LDL does because it's the LDL that forms foam cells and contributes to plaque buildup.
Right.
But having your HDL high, like this whole quote-unquote good cholesterol, seems to be a bit of a myth. You know, HDL
Mm.
transports cholesterol and triglycerides away from the other tissues to your liver. And of course, if your liver is full with cholesterol and triglycerides because you're eating a lot of fat and you're taking anabolic steroids and you're taking oral steroids, which makes it even worse, then it produces less HDL by increasing, what is it called, hormone sensitive lipase or another lipoprotein lipase that breaks down HDL. So HDL in serum goes down. Now you have less transport to the liver. And as a result of that, your liver wants to shuttle all this fat and cholesterol away. So LDL goes up to transport it
Mhm.
from the liver to the other tissues. But the other tissues don't want to accept the LDL because they're full with cholesterol from the steroids that you're
And
taking.
then it's just
So
floating around
now
your bloodstream,
floating
oxidizing.
around in the bloodstream. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and also probably like getting my antioxidant intake up would help with reducing the amount of just foam cell
Yeah,
production,
yeah,
right?
yeah. To a certain extent. I mean, having antioxidants is always good, like a little bit of vitamin C, glutathione. NAC is a building block for that. You know, it always helps. I think a lot of people
Mhm.
are scared from those two studies that show that vitamin C reduces the hypertrophy response, so they don't take vitamin C. But dude, I take 6,000 milligrams vitamin C every day, and I've done that for over a decade, and I still got big. You know, so I think it's just an excuse that
I think
bodybuilders
the
use
gear in my
why they look
bloodstream
like
would
shit.
just
Yeah,
head
exactly.
to the
Yeah, the gear would
filter
just push
regardless.
right through that. Yeah, yeah, fuck that, you know.
Yeah,
Plus, training on gear is the most oxidative stress you can do. It's actually been scientifically proven. So you need some vitamin C to get that under control.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. So anyway, LDL, yeah, 209, HDL 33, and HDL 225.
Hmm.
So my non HDL cholesterol, and then my
Right.
triglycerides were normal, 79.
Okay, good.
Um, and my VLDL was actually only 15.8.
Okay.
I don't know how much that matters. I mean, my LDL was sky high, so yeah, luteinizing hormone non-existent, not even on
Hmm.
it just says less than.
Yeah.
Testosterone just says greater than. Prostate is normal. TSH
Hmm.
is on the higher end of the reference range, but it's still in range.
Okay.
Blah,
Are you
blah, blah, blah,
supplementing with
blah.
T4? Are you taking any growth hormone, T4? No?
No.
If you're
So I took
bulking, why are you not taking growth hormone? What's going on?
honestly, just because I took growth for like 2 years straight, and
Hmm.
I just kept hearing these things about it burns the candle from both ends and lifespan and this and that and the effect on you know insulin resistance and whatnot, or just
Hmm.
glucose in your bloodstream. And I'm like, maybe it's good if I just take a break from growth for a while, until I learn a little more about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was
I
really
think,
only taking 2 to 3 IU's a day, so it wasn't anything crazy, but still, it was 2 years straight. And
yeah.
after my surgery, I was doing 8 IU's a day, even though I wasn't
Hell yeah.
training. I was doing
Hell
eight
yeah.
because I wanted to heal faster. Yeah,
Recover. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
So I think if
So,
you eat a little bit better, right? If you get your bulking choices under control, just a little bit cleaner, you would do well from looking into the vertical diet because it really
yeah,
optimizes
for sure.
digestion. Right. And then if you take a little bit of growth hormone alongside of that, maybe around the workout or out cardio and before bed, I think you'll have a great outcome. especially if you add in a little bit of insulin. It depends on how big you want to get. You want to stay in classic physique or you want to go open?
I want to stay in classic, but I am
Yeah.
24 years old, and
Mm.
uh, it's time to push, man. Like I always said, I'm never gonna take insulin because that's when I know I've gone too
Oh yeah,
far.
that's what I said.
But then, huh?
That's what I said, and then I took a
Yeah, but then
boatload
it
of it,
gets to
and
a
then I
point where
got
it's like,
huge.
why do I have these certain dogmas? Like I really don't know anything about insulin, like in terms of taking it. So why am I so against the idea? Just because I've heard some bodybuilders have had bad experiences with it. That's really it. I don't know that
Mm.
much about it, and the health outcomes. So I'm not on
I
it,
th-
but like now I'm kind of more open to the idea of like, well,
if
if I can manage it correctly, then
Yeah, if you go on insulin, you have to eat perfectly clean because anytime you eat cake or Pop Tarts or whatever, your insulin sensitivity goes down. And of course, if you lose insulin sensitivity, then everything you eat is going to adipose tissue. So now you get fat as fuck. And that's the last thing you want, right? Because that makes dieting even harder. So if you can clean up your diet, something along the, not the carnivore, the vertical diet, which is very heavy on micronutrients and a lot of carbs and optimizes digestion, and you add in a long-acting insulin like Lantus, 5, 10, maybe 25 IUs, slowly building it up, adding in the growth hormone, I'll think you'll be 225 in no time.
sounds
Yeah,
enticing.
and your blood work will be better, and you don't need to increase
So
the gear.
I have a question that I've had for a while.
Mhm.
It's probably a very simple answer, but I've seen like the glycemic index is what that's kind of a way to see how much certain foods spike your insulin, right?
Mhm.
And the go-to clean food, clean carb that bodybuilders have is white rice. But
Yeah,
from what I've seen, white rice spikes your insulin damn near as much as sucrose does.
yeah.
Um, so why are all these bodybuilders taking insulin and then eating a shit fuck ton of white rice? Is that
So
not
so
very similar to eating sugar?
so imagine if you eat like 500, 700, 1,000 grams of carbs per day, right? You want that to digest fast because otherwise you're not empty enough for your next meal. So you want a fast absorbing, fast digesting carbohydrate source, um, which is white rice in most cases. Right? Freshly cooked white rice, so you don't have the resistant starches. So you cook it, you keep it hot in the rice cooker, and then, like the vertical diet says, you mix that, you cook that in chicken stock, which seems to help with digestion also. So you can basically cook your entire food for the day in one rice cooker, right? You have your rice, your chicken stock, your vegetables in the steamer tray, and then your steak on top, and you just mix it all together when it's done, and you get like five good meals. You want that to digest fast. Just keep in mind that fat, protein, and vegetables lower the glycemic index. So when you start combining food, it's no longer a glycemic index of 80 or 100, just like table sugar is. It's maybe 30, 40, 50. Right? It hasn't been
So in
examined.
theory, why
Yeah.
couldn't I drink a little bit of iced tea with my meal?
You could, yeah, if
Okay.
if if your diet warrants you to have a little bit of simple sugar, which I'm not against. The vertical diet also instructs people to have a little bit of dextrose with their sugar, or with their dextrose with their rice, or a little bit of
Mhm.
orange juice when it's required. But in the beginning, you want to have your foundation because iced tea or orange juice, it doesn't have so many nutrients, and you still need the nutrients to grow, right? It has sugar, and that's about it. Maybe vitamin
Mhm.
C if the orange juice is fresh. Well, the vitamin C that you get from your orange juice, even if you drink 2 liters per day, that's minimal compared to your multivitamin. So
Mhm.
we don't take it for that. So if you have your nutrition in place and you have a long-acting insulin to kind of shuttle everything in and take the burden off the pancreas, so you don't have these blood sugar fluctuations and the pancreas just gets overused, right? Because if you're eating 1,000 carbs per day, I mean, it's basically what diabetics get themselves into, right? They eat a boatload of simple sugars every day for 10 years, and now they're diabetic because the pancreas is burned out. So you support that. You support the pancreas with exogenous insulin. And then if you want to have some iced tea with that, yeah, go for it.
But just
It's still better
basically
than
make sure if I do want to have a bit of a cheat, make sure I have it directly after a meal containing, protein and vegetables and things that are going to slow down that or flatten that spike.
if you're on insulin, you shouldn't cheat because all that cheat will be stored as body fat.
Mm. Okay.
That's the sucky part. So you are on insulin from Monday to Saturday, and then Sunday you eat whatever the fuck you want. You take a metformin after that to improve your insulin sensitivity, and then you do another week, right?
Take a what? Oh, metformin.
You take metformin to kind of improve the insulin sensitivity, and then the next day you can start with insulin again. Because if you take your long-acting insulin on Saturday, that's metabolized by Sunday morning, you eat like a fucking asshole, whatever you want on Sunday. You have a metformin, 500,000 milligrams before bed, and then Monday you're ready to go again. You know.
So okay, well,
I
I'll
I
look
did
into
that
that.
for years. I did that for years. I mean, I gave myself non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because of it, but because
Okay.
I was just perma. There's always a trade-off, dude. There's always a trade-off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, but then if you diet for a show, you can get all that fat out of your liver. That's true also. And I think metabolically, my family members are just fucked in that sense.
yeah.
Because my entire family is skinny fat, so we have a lot of tendency for fat storage. Yeah. So
Okay.
I had to really push it. Yeah, I had to really push it. Like staying lean is a struggle, dude. It's a struggle.
So yeah, it's the opposite for me. I just
Mm.
weight just comes off of me. Like I've probably
Mm.
lost 2 pounds from this fucking podcast, and I have to go have a mask take now.
Shit.
But so shit. Oh man, eating clean, man. Come on.
It
It's the
sucks.
worst.
I know it sucks. Yeah, but
It didn't
that is
suck
the
when I
way
was
to
on
stay
prep
healthy.
because
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, I'm getting lean. But eating clean when you're bulking is just so boring. Anyway, I won't complain. I'll do what you recommend. But can I do that like year round, or with insulin should you do like a month on, a month off, or what?
So it depends on your insulin sensitivity. Like if you eat clean and you have the micronutrients, right? The magnesium and berberine maybe and that kind of stuff, and you don't overeat, then I think you can sustain insulin sensitivity for years on end. And then if you do lose it, that you wake up with your fasting blood glucose level slightly elevated and you took a day off from the insulin. So if your blood glucose went up without the exogenous insulin in the picture, then it might be time for a mini diet. Okay, you cut the insulin, you cut the carbs by 50%, you diet for 2 weeks, you lean out a little bit, and then you complain like, oh, fuck, I can't bench 4 plates for 12 reps anymore. Right, so you get your little down period, your little deload because you're not strong after removing all the carbs, and then you go
Yeah,
right back into it. And you can do that over
yeah.
and over and over again. And this is how all these pros put on so much size in the off season because they have like an 8-week growth phase, 2 weeks mini diet, and then they go again.
Mm-hmm. It might be time for that mini diet part. I'd say my
Yeah, well,
growth.
with this cholesterol, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So next, HCT,
Hematocrit.
52.8, a bit elevated.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
That's fine.
MPV. What's that?
Yeah. MPV
Yeah.
platelets.
Oh yeah, platelets. Yeah, it was actually low, 6.5, because I'm on aspirin regimen because
Let me see if that's correct. MPV blood
I think you were
count.
right.
Yeah, mean platelet volume. Okay, that's the size of your platelets. So you said
Yes.
6.5?
Yeah, so it's a bit low, and I think that's because I take aspirin, a baby aspirin, like 4 times a week because,
Yeah.
just being on a bunch of androgens, being on EQ, um, it's a band-aid, but it's
Yeah.
something that Derek had recommended, and I said, yeah, well, it's better to have
I
slightly
want
low.
you. I'm not going to convince you, but I'm going to give you some homework about aspirin. I want you to look into aspirin and stomach ulcers.
I've heard, I've heard, I've
So
heard.
I would prefer you to replace the aspirin with high dose fish oil and vitamin E, which also thin the blood. And since your hematocrit is 52.8, while you're not super hydrated, I wouldn't worry about it too much. But the fish oil and the vitamin E, very potent antioxidants and help with insulin sensitivity if you're thinking about insulin. And don't burn holes in your stomach when you're already having stomach acid issues and using antacids.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Red blood
Food for thought.
cells. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm gonna probably rewatch this whole segment. My red blood
Yeah.
cells were at 6.35.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty high. I scheduled a blood dump, so I'm gonna go do that. And then
Okay.
my RDW
Hmm.
What's that
Red
again?
cell distribution width is the difference between the big and the small red blood cells.
It is 14.9, so it's high.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
So you have some
And then,
small, some big, and that could be a micronutrient deficiency or over donation. But you're eating beef a lot, right? Are you getting your B vitamins in? Are you take a
what food?
B100 complex, like
What foods
B9,
would be high in
B12?
B vitamins?
So B vitamins, they help with red blood cell production. And if there's not
Right,
enough
but
B vitamins,
what foods would be high in those?
steak has a lot of B12. Eggs have most of the B vitamins, and most of the carb sources have like vitamin B1, 2, 3, 5, etc. Of course, it varies
I mean,
between
then
food
in
sources.
theory, yeah, I should be getting a shit ton of B vitamins. I have a steak every day, and I have eggs every day. So, and
Do you
I'm
have
not really donating.
chronometer or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I tracked my food. I had the seafood diet for the last, 5 months. So
All
I
right,
just ate.
clean it up, and your blood work parameters will improve by themselves because you're eating more
Yeah,
nutritious foods.
I'm already in that process. So I've been
Yeah,
eating a bit cleaner for the past since I got the blood work done. And then
good.
my hemoglobin A1C is not actually out of range somehow, but is high.
Hmm.
It is 5.5, and the top of the reference range is 5.6. So
5.5. Yeah, yeah. So that's just a result of your eating habits.
yeah. So and then my fasted blood glucose was 103.
103, 103. So that's
Yeah.
slightly over the. Yeah, it's time to clean it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen way worse. I've seen 150. So this is not the end of the world, but these are the
I
early
mean, it
signs to kind
says
of like, you know what? It's time to do better with the nutrition.
right, and these reference ranges are kind of crazy because it doesn't even say my glucose is high. It says the top end of the range is 118, but I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
118 is pretty friggin' high. So,
Yeah.
it didn't pop up as
Well,
red, but I figured I should mention it anyway.
I think they're changing the reference ranges in the United States because there's so many upset snowflakes that are unhealthy. So they have to bring the reference range of testosterone down so people don't get offended that they're low testosterone. And they need to bring the fasting glucose and the hemoglobin A1C up so people don't get offended that they're actually morbidly obese and mad unhealthy. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Or they're looking at the averages and they could say, well, we could do a big health campaign, or we could just change the ranges,
Yeah.
and they say,
With the
well, it's
same
easier.
data we took decades ago, we'll just we just lower the ranges and increase it here. Yeah, everybody's good. Keep doing what you're doing. Here's some more statins.
Oh, we make a little bit of money while we're at it too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's big pharma for you. So no, I would
Yeah,
like, of course, if your fasting glucose is 118, I would not consider that good if you're an athlete. Like if you're a
yeah.
normal guy, not training, right, eating like an asshole, whatever, man, that's your responsibility. But I would not be happy to see such a number. Mine is usually like 78, 68. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I do
103 is a bit
keto
high.
mostly.
I want to get it lower. So but yeah, that is my blood work right now.
Not
So
not too crazy. I've seen a lot worse on comparable cycles. You
I
know.
guess that gives me a little bit of hope.
Yeah, I've seen a lot worse, dude. I've seen a lot worse. So it's not the end
Yeah.
of the world. But yeah, there's always room for improvement, right? I mean, uh, this is why I usually get my cycles simple with test, GH, and insulin because I always felt that even at higher dosages, I was able to control my blood glucose and all my blood work parameters way better. But I would always make sure that I eat healthy. Even when I was off season eating like 5,000 calories, I would eat 5,000, 6,000 calories. I would eat the healthiest food I could. And the end of the day,
Mhm.
my stomach would be here because, healthy food has a lot of food volume,
Right.
especially if you have rice and veggies and good amount of protein. And then the next day, it would all be gone again and I could pull a vacuum. But it sucks. If you want to grow healthy, you got to eat the healthy food. And
Right.
okay, if you're at 6,000 calories and you're on all the drugs that you feel comfortable with, and you're still not growing, you'll probably be 250 pounds. And if you want to add in the cake and the chicken wings and the pizza, then okay, fine.
But you should
Fine.
cut out the insulin if you're doing that, right?
No, at that
If that
point, your
variation.
metabolism is so high that you actually need it. But this is like pro territory. I'd rather eat a
Okay.
bucket of Ben and
Well, I
Jerry's
won't even.
before bed and still take insulin and that kind of stuff because they do your workout over a week in a single workout, volume
Yeah.
wise. You
Yeah.
know, so
Right.
that's why they burn through all that shit.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely need to clean it up.
Hmm.
I'll look into the vertical diet as well. Um, but yeah, so I had some questions too. I
Yeah.
had
Shoot.
I
Go for it.
got, and I know you've probably got other things you want to get to, but real quick,
Hmm.
I posted on my Snapchat. Um, I was pouring a sugar packet into grapefruit juice, and I said, "Who else thinks grapefruit juice isn't sweet enough?" And I had someone swipe up and say, "Watch out with the drugs you're taking if you're having grapefruit juice because of its effect on like first pass metabolism and everything." And this wasn't
Yeah.
something I was aware of.
Oh, really?
I'd
Okay.
actually, but then I'd forgotten it, and then this guy jogged my memory, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, that's right." So,
Yeah.
does this? What drugs does this really have an effect with? And I assume it has an effect with like oral steroids, because I think I saw one of your videos on it.
Everything that's metabolized by cytochrome P450 enzyme. So I think grapefruit has naringenin, and bergamotin. Those three, and they're very potent cytochrome P450 enzyme inhibitors. I'm off the top of my head, it's 3A4, and I think two other ones, but I'm not entirely sure which ones. But it's a CYP3A4 that metabolizes all the oral steroids, most of the medications that we're taking. So it basically prevents the breakdown of oral steroids and also regular steroids, because even if you inject them, they still go through cytochrome P450 enzymes when they end up in the liver. So it makes it work better. And it could be the
Mm,
Tums that works better. It could be the aspirin that works better. It could be the telmisartan that works better for the dose that you're taking. And so maybe if you're taking 20 milligrams telmisartan, but the breakdown is prevented, then maybe it's 35 milligrams, right? Just
mm,
as an arbitrary number. So,
right.
yeah, let's see, grapefruit, it's been used like this for ages. This has been well known in the bodybuilding community. People talked about this in the bodybuilding forums since the dawn of the bodybuilding forums. Like, hey, you have your breakfast, grapefruit, Dianabol, egg whites, steak, and some veggies and some rice, and then you get the day started, because grapefruit juice makes your Dianabol or Androgen work better.
Yeah.
But it's not just as oral steroids; it's basically everything. And what people don't realize is that there's hundreds of cytochrome P450 enzyme inhibitors. Fluvoxamine, an SSRI, inhibits it.
Mm,
Ketoconazole, the hair loss shampoo, inhibits it. And then modafinil and St. John's wort actually induce cytochrome P450 enzymes, so they
mm,
metabolize other drugs faster.
hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's whole lists. I'll link them down below in the podcast. There's lists of cytochrome P450 substrates, inhibitors, and inducers, all documented on Wikipedia. And then you can kind of cross, like, well, okay, I'm taking this and this and this. How can I prevent the breakdown, and what should I avoid so it would otherwise speed up the breakdown? And then you can also use this to pass the drug test, because you can actually increase the breakdown of particular drugs after you take them out, so the detection time is shortened.
Mm,
And that way, people pass just left and right. Like, I stopped it 2 weeks before the test, but the detection time is 3 weeks because you sped up the metabolism.
right. With something like St. John's wort.
Yeah, or
Right.
modafinil or glucuronidase enzyme
Ketoconazole,
upregulators.
does that inhibit it even if you use it topically?
If it goes systemic, yeah. So some guys are really anti-hair loss, right? And so they do the ketoconazole like 10% twice a day, and then they get some systemic effects. I really don't like ketoconazole, minoxidil, finasteride, dutasteride, because they have so many overlaps with the androgen receptors and steroidogenesis inhibitors. So a lot of drug-free people that overdo these compounds, they're no longer anabolic because their natural hormone production is dysregulated, and there's negative
Uh-huh.
effects on the androgen receptor directly. So I would
Right.
always proceed with caution. Personally, I would rather go bald than use these compounds. But of course, I understand why people want to keep their hair.
Yeah.
Just have to be
I'm
careful.
currently just taking zero point 0.5 dutasteride
Hmm.
per day.
Hmm.
And I've been told that it doesn't really matter because I was worried about, potential erection quality issues or things like that, but I was assured that I'm on enough gear for that to not matter. And if
True.
anything, Derek said he might even make the argument that dutasteride is cardioprotective for guys on gear because you're stopping a crazy high amount of DHT from going around and wreaking havoc on your heart.
Yeah. 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 You can make that
So
argument. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's it.
I also take minoxidil once a day, and I don't really do it every day. I'd say like 4 times a
Hmm.
week because I just forget sometimes, or I just don't want a
Hmm.
greasy head of hair. But again, I'm on 750 milligrams of gear a week.
Right.
Do I really think that's going to be the difference? That something that makes all the difference? Probably not. Hopefully.
No. So what
And
I advise you to do is look into your DHEA and pregnenolone levels and allopregnenolone if you can test for those. I think Merrick Health. Are you doing your labs with Merrick Health or somewhere else?
so this one I actually did with a local clinic just because it was
Hmm.
same day results.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Right. Merrick
I
is
mean, it
about a
was
week.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
So
um,
next time, see if you can check your DHEA, pregnenolone, and allopregnenolone because you're taking compounds that could inhibit those steps of steroidogenesis, and that means you might need to supplement with DHEA or pregnenolone if those levels are low. So you would have a better
mhm,
cognitive and well-being and libido outcome if you supplement with 25 milligrams DHEA and 10, maybe 25 milligrams pregnenolone, depending on your levels. Right? And if they're currently in range because you're taking HCG and you don't get so much inhibition, then it's fine. You don't have to take it, obviously.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so I've already asked you some of these. Oh,
Hmm.
what's your opinion on waist trainers for bodybuilding? Because I've actually seen some
Hmm.
open bodybuilders. I don't know if it was Hattie Chupon or
No, it
someone
was a Rolly
else.
Winkler. Rolly
Yeah,
Winkler
that's
used
right.
one for a very long time, and a couple other guys. No, it works. It clearly works. If you optimize your digestion and do an elimination diet and maybe a food allergy test, and you stick with the foods that work, and you don't go with crazy high sugar post workouts with essential amino acids and a boatload of insulin, then I think you can keep your waist kind of tight. Like my wife used a waist trainer when she was competing, and her waist was tiny. She would just
Hmm.
use it all day, all year, off season, on season, and still train her abs. And her waist was tiny, and she had wide lats, so she had like a tiny waist, and then the lats would come out. Like she did like
Right.
bikini, but it was almost wellness with ideas of figure. It's a different federation, so they actually did like lat spread poses and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So yes, she used it. So I think it works. Yeah, it's just uncomfortable, and you need to wear it the whole year because otherwise it doesn't work.
Hmm. Even when you
So you need to
sleep.
buy. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Well, fuck it. Smaller
It's the
waist. I'll
same as
do it.
it's the same as braces, right? When you braces to kind of reconstruct your teeth, you wear those 24/7 also. And then
Right.
if you take them out, then the teeth are set. But with the waist, because it's soft tissue, they will just thicken out again. If you stop wearing the waist trainer. So if you really want to make a difference, yeah, you have to wear it 24/7 for a whole year, and then you really see noticeable changes. So that means you need like 7 waist trainers because obviously you're not going to wear one every day for a week and then sweat through them at the gym, and it would be nasty. So my wife had
Yeah.
like 14 of them, you know, from the ones she liked. Yeah, and then you use 2 per day, right? And you wash them at the end of the week, and then yeah, because you go to the gym, you do cardio, and you're just wearing your waist trainer the whole time.
Man, that must be uncomfortable bulking. You got all that food going in, and you just got a waist trainer just compressing it all
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why most guys don't do it.
So, and something else I should mention that I just remembered now.
Hmm.
I've been taking MK677 like 4 or 5 times a week because
To increase appetite, right? Yeah.
yes, because I am a hard
Hmm.
gainer. I don't gain weight easily, and when I
Hmm.
do, it just comes off. It's a bad combination of a high metabolism plus a small stomach plus a naturally
Hmm.
low appetite. It's like I'm just kind of working uphill in that regard, and that's why prep was pretty easy for me. I didn't like cravings, I had cravings, but in
Right.
terms of hunger, I actually dealt with it pretty much fine.
Uh huh.
Um, So I just wanted to know what your opinion is of MK at the
Hmm.
frequency I've been using, and I've been using about 12.5 milligrams whenever I take it, and also any other tips or hacks or anything like that you have for appetite. So that because a big reason that I've been doing the dirty bulk is not because I
Hmm.
just like shitty foods, but it's also because it just makes it way less volume
Right.
to force feed. You know, I can
Right.
force feed a burger much easier than I can force feed, chicken and rice.
Yeah. So, but is that a burger from McDonald's or one you make yourself?
No, I mean it's usually Shake Shack. I love Shake Shack,
Okay.
so kind of in between.
In between, right? You can speed up your digestion with again apple cider vinegar, betaine hydrochloride. Like the anticid that you're taking now is actually slowing your digestion even more, so it actually makes it more difficult to eat. So if you use like probiotics here or there, not all the time, but maybe sometimes, and same for digestive enzymes. There's a very good one called Creol 4000. I'm not sure if that's available in the US, but it has pancreatic enzymes, and it's what people with pancreatic failure take. And man, that digests everything in a heartbeat. You know, you eat a huge meal, and then 30 minutes later, it's gone. I use that when I go to the hotel buffet because those are like $60, and I want to eat. So I take my Creole 4000 pancreatic enzymes before, and I just load plate after plate after plate, and it just goes through. Just
Damn,
goes
man.
through.
I mean, I've been using the Digest Gold just because that's like the most common digestive
Yeah,
enzyme.
yeah, that should be good
And I
also.
heard it was pretty good, but I'll try this
Yeah.
other. I'll try this other one.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
problem is with digestive enzymes is that you get used to it and that you produce less digestive enzymes yourself. It's kind of like
Right.
TRT, right? You go on TRT, your natural testosterone production goes down. And if you go on digestive enzymes every single meal, then your natural digestive enzyme production goes down also.
Hmm.
So if you skip a meal, then you'll notice that it sits, and that sucks,
Hmm.
and it takes a while to really get that back. So that's optimizing digestion besides elimination diet and food allergy tests just to make sure that you eat what is really good. And then I think in your context, insulin will help with nutrient partitioning. T4, which will increase your T3 levels, which will help with nutrient partitioning. And if you take MK677 with insulin, then your IGF-1 levels should be even higher, and that will help with nutrient partitioning also. So, in this case, if we're eating a little bit better and adding in a little bit more drugs to optimize the whole thing, and then, like I said, I think you'll be 225 in no time.
Hell yeah, brother. 220 is the goal right now. Before, like, that's what my
Yeah.
coach wants me to get to before we start prep.
So
Like,
you're
wait,
really you're really a heart gainer then, right? Because I'm not eating anything. I'm off everything, or HCG and FSH and a little bit of growth hormone, and I'm like 200 pounds, easy.
yeah,
You
no. I
know,
mean, when
I grow fat and muscle so easy, man, and I can always eat. I could always dude, I could destroy food.
dude, it makes me jealous. Dude, was prep hard for you? Like, was it hard
No, I
to?
die. I diet, dude. If I get to 6%, I'm a moody piece of shit. Even if I take tirzepatide or retatrutide or semaglutide, even then I'm starving.
Dude, I was like the
Irritable, and I'm
happiest I've ever been when I was like 4 weeks out. I'm like, man, I feel energetic. My stomach doesn't feel super full all the time. I still have
uh,
energy. That was it was like the 4 week out mark was almost that was like the natural amount my body wanted to consume when I was around 4 weeks.
ah,
So when
I'm
I'm off
looking in the
season,
cupboards for food, just looking for fumes.
yeah, I mean, the only thing that bothered me was cravings. I was a little moody sometimes because I wanted to have
Mm,
something, good, something that tasted good. But besides
yeah,
that, no, it's actually pretty. Like I said, when I was all depressed and stuff, and I was just sitting at
mm,
home playing video games, a lot of people would probably get fat, right? Because they just
yeah,
binge eat and they play video games.
yeah.
I lost 30, 40 pounds. So,
The
that's
fuck,
just
dude.
naturally what happens to me. Yeah, man. I've always been like that. I mean, my mom, I think I got it from my mom. She's at like 103 pounds, and she just eats. She's a grazer. She just
Ah,
when
yeah, she's have like one
she'll go
bite.
have
Yeah.
chips and salsa, and then that's it. And like she's actually has really good health because I do think
Mm.
that like eating less food is generally pretty good in terms of
100%.
longevity. Yeah,
100%. 100%. Less
and I
oxidative
just felt
stress,
better, dude.
less issues with your intestinal tract. Yeah, eating less is better.
Yeah,
But that doesn't get you big.
No, it doesn't, man. No, it doesn't. Because when I was close to my show, even though I was on tren and halo
Mhm.
testing and these harsh compounds, the whites of my eyes were bright white and my skin
Yeah.
was super clear, and I just
Mhm.
looked healthy. I mean, if you just
Yeah.
looked at me, you'd say, "Wow, it's a like fit guy." Actually, no, I'm
Mhm.
on all these compounds, but comparatively, just due to less food, I really felt good. I had natural
Yeah.
energy. I wasn't really taking naps. I take naps a
Mhm.
lot now, like 3 times a week. Um, but back then, dude, I was just like a machine, like in terms of my energy levels. So yeah, it's maybe bodybuilding's kind of not 100% in my cards, but I'm forcing it to be in my cards.
No, but I think we all go through that, right? In the beginning, you really want to put on the size, and you're just gonna have to suffer through it. I mean, I suffered through like 6,000 calories for months on end, and
Yeah.
after a while, you get used to it. And then at one point, you solidify your physique, and then all you need to do is improve. And once the muscle is there, then it's really hard to let it go. Like how long have you been training? What, 5, 6, 7 years?
Actually, I've been training since I was 14, and I did
Oh,
gymnastics for
right.
8
Okay.
years. I did
All right.
gymnastics
So
for 8
yeah, you've been very athletic. Okay. So you've been training for a long time. Okay. So I started when I was 15, and then I did swimming before that. So I was like you, I was like very physically active. And now that I'm 40, I mean, the muscle doesn't want to go away. I mean, this is still there. I mean, it's lean, it's dry, right? And it's my testosterone levels are like 820, and I'm in a
Yeah,
caloric deficit. I want to stay lean. I actually want to get leaner. I eat like
yeah,
2,500 calories, pathetic.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I had 2,500 calories, I would literally fucking get shredded in like a week. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
for reference, my peak week food, and you saw
Mhm.
like I was pretty lean. I wasn't like
Mm.
Olympia stage shredded, but I was pretty damn shredded for my show, and
Yeah.
I was eating 2,000 calories on training days, so it was still pretty high.
Yeah.
My food was pretty good. I was starting to get hungry around that point with all the
Yeah, I'm
cardio and
sure.
the training. Yeah, I was starting to get hungry. But
No, it's rough. So enjoy this caloric surplus while it lasts, because at one point you'll be happy with your physique and size wise, and then it's prep time again. And then
mhm.
at one point you'll be starving and moody. It's a vicious cycle, man. That's bodybuilding though.
It's no, all right. Well, that's funnily enough, that's going to be the biggest challenge I've had bodybuilding. Not getting my pro card, not doing a cut, none of this shit. It's going to be clean bulking, and you have you've been the straw that broke the camel's back. Everyone's been telling me clean up your shit, and I've
Yeah, do
only
it.
cleaned it up like 50%. But
Hmm.
I'm going to aim for 90% now. I don't know if I can give up my iced tea. I don't know if I
No, so
can.
you can keep the iced tea in. That's fine, right? Maybe add in a little bit of unflavored essential amino acids, so at least it's anabolic. Anabolic iced tea. And I'm sure you can find like some sort of EA for a flavor with Gorilla Mind and just mix it in. Maybe the crush or something, and that's pretty
Yeah,
doable.
and
And then and
everything
then
goes
you have
with iced tea.
yeah, and then you have like 5 to 10 grams of essential amino acids while you're drinking that, so you're even more anabolic, right? You do the rich piano one day, you may drink like essential amino acids all day, and then not
Yeah.
not talk about the injectable anadrol and the bottles of insulin you was also on. And you can get
Dude,
fucking swole.
it makes me curious. Like, there's some guy like Sam Sulek. I assume he's. I don't know. I've just heard from people that he's probably taking insulin. I don't know if he is.
Mm,
I've just
that
heard that
that
he
I'm
is.
not sure about. No, I mean it could
What's
be,
that?
could be.
Like
Yeah.
Greg has said it and stuff, and publicly, like in videos,
Mhm.
and but how with what you're saying about like dirty bulking? I mean, you thought my bulk was dirty. You should have seen the shit Sam was eating. It's
Yeah, I
crazy.
know. Yeah,
Like, I feel like he just
Sam's.
would have freaking died if he was taking insulin and eating the way he was eating.
Yeah, we don't know his blood work. We don't know his cycle, and his skin complexion did improve, but I think that for what I just told him, I take some fucking Accutane because you're
He
unmarketable
did,
with all
yeah,
this fucking acne. So, and of course, like, Sam is, I'm assuming, getting some guidance from the guys over at Hostile, right? Ben Chow is a coach, Ian Valier is a coach. Fouad might not offer the best advice. I don't think he eats the cleanest diet himself, but as long as he's got a good team of people kind of telling him what to do and what not to do, I think it will slowly improve. And who knows? Maybe this kind of dieting is just for the camera. I mean, he does understand how to go viral. And otherwise, I mean, if he keeps eating like this and his waist blows out and he gets NAFLD, and then I'll have to take some time off and he won't go far. So,
right.
But then again, when I was 24, or how old is he? 24, 25?
No,
21?
Dude, I think 22. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't take steroids at that age, but my diet was horrendous also sometimes.
Yeah.
I would go to the gym and then go to the local cafeteria and get like, slice of pizza and a couple of the buns, with pork sausage in there and some French fries, and that will be my post-workout meal. Because I was starving, You go to school and then you go to the gym and you're fucking hungry, and the protein shakes weren't even really a thing back then. So you just go eat.
Yeah. So I'm curious because, like, of course, I want to be locked in with bodybuilding, but there, especially in the off season, I still want to have a life too. And if my friends want to go out and get food, I would like to, even if that's only like once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, go out and have a cheat meal. But if I'm on insulin, is there anything I should take before I know I'm going to have a cheat, so that I'm not fucking everything up and storing a bunch of body fat, or no?
Doesn't work like that. Once the insulin is in, it's going to work. So I'm sure your friends will invite you 2 days ahead of time and not say, hey, James, at 6 o'clock, be there, or you're out of the friend group, right? And it's 5 o'clock. Happened to me a couple times. Hey, you got to come, otherwise you're out the friend zone, man. Fucking asshole, you're only training. So I'm sure that will give you some notice, and then you just don't take the insulin that day and maybe reduce your carbohydrate intake to have your net calories the same over that day. I mean, I go out with my wife every Sunday, whether she was on prep or I was dieting. We go out every Sunday and we do whatever. So we have a normal life, right? You go to the movies, eat some popcorn, eat some sort of hamburger. And I try to still eat, reasonably healthy on Sunday. But if I see a cookie that I like, I'm going to fucking eat it. Mm-hmm. And if my wife wants some popcorn from the cinema, I'm not going to let her eat alone. So, but then on that, I know that on Sunday I'm not going to follow my diet, so I would not take insulin that day. And
also it really helps that I have a girlfriend who's like, she's 7 weeks out right now, and I mean, she's way more committed than I was when I was on prep. Like,
yeah, but women have to. It's difficult to lose fat. Women have a hard time sometimes.
Yeah, but I was committed around the 6 week mark, but before then I was a little like, I'd only say 90%. And you can't be 90% on prep, right? You can be 90%.
Cal was probably pissed off at you, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
He knew, like, he kind of knew. And when he told me to lock in, I would cut certain things out. But Gianna's just 100%. I mean, she doesn't, like, she wanted to try something that I was eating, and she took the smallest little, and then she went and spit it out. And she's like, oh, that was good. I'm like, it's kind of eating disorder territory. She's like, I don't care. I'm not cheating. So, and she doesn't really even do that much. She just sticks to, like, her Mio and the meals that Kyle has written for her. So it's easy to, stick to something if I don't have a girlfriend that's always like, let's go get burgers. Let's go get this and that. So that's kind of
at one point she'll come out of prep, and then maybe your prep just starts, and that's the life of like competing couples. It's just a nightmare. Like I didn't compete, right? Because I never felt that my physique was compete worthy, and I know that I turned into a dickhead at the end, so I never wanted to put my wife through that. But I would always diet with my wife when she was still competing. So it'd be easy that way, right? We'd have our off season together, and then once she start prepping at like 16 weeks out, I would just join her in. So we could both get lean, and then I would be the leanest bodybuilding coach backstage, and she would be the leanest bikini athlete on stage.
Yeah, dude. It's funny. That's kind of the same thing that happened with me and Gianna when I was on prep. Yeah. She obviously would hang out a lot. We weren't living together at that point, but we would hang out a lot. And I would always have my own food made, and often I'd make it in excess. And then she kind of just naturally is like, well, if that's what you're eating, I guess I'll eat that too. I mean, I'm not going to get fast food in front of you. So she would just eat what I was eating. And she ended up getting in really good shape by accident. She's
that's
like
good.
eating
That's
all
good.
the clean food I was eating. But
that's how it should be, right? If you're both into health and fitness, you just eat healthy at the same time, and then you get so much good results. And
Yeah.
like for her, did she ever compete before, or this is like her first round of
No,
competitions?
this is her first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kyle is taking all the influencers, right? I think he's got some of the younger guys that are all have big followings, and I always see Kyle in the
Yeah.
background. He's like coaching all these young guys, and good, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like kind of Anthony started the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
Mantello, and then from him, that's how I got in touch with Kyle. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I very publicly was with Kyle when I did my prep, and the prep series did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, Kyle was like, dude, I've got enough clients to last me a lifetime at this point. Like the backlog is so long that I'd
Yeah.
never even need to promote anything ever again because it's
Yeah.
just, everyone wants to sign up. So yeah,
Increase the rates, Kyle.
his rates are still pretty low actually. But last question,
Yeah.
because
Sure.
I'm sure you have other stuff that you want to talk about, but I have an arm wrestling super match coming up, which my
All right.
coach, I haven't told him. I don't want to tell him,
Oh shit.
but it's in June, and
Mm-hmm.
it's against someone who's really good, who probably is going to beat me, but I'm trying to not let that happen.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you have any experience with. I mean, obviously, like with strength sports, and arm wrestling is probably
Mm-hmm.
pretty similar. Like, compounds leading up to it, compounds the day of, things that are going to acutely increase my force production,
Mm-hmm.
strength, aggression. Obviously, Halo and Anadrol come to mind.
Yes.
But also, arm wrestling is a very tendon based sport because you're kind of staying isometrically, like you're not doing any
Mm-hmm.
contraction. Really. You're
Right.
isometrically holding things and
Yeah, and then
driving to the
leading.
side.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, a big part of what I'm doing is I've got my little weight stack right here.
Uh-huh.
And a few times a day, I'll just come up and I'll hit a single, just my right arm. It's not really going to affect my physique because it's just a single. And it's
Right.
really just strengthening my hand and wrist.
Mm-hmm.
But like my tendons are fucking sore, man. And that's part of the thing. You want to condition your
Yeah.
tendons, and then you cut
Mm-hmm.
these exercises out 3 weeks out, and you kind of super compensate. And then when you
Right.
come in on meet day, you're just like an ox,
Right.
So
Right.
anything
So you
for tendons,
so
ligaments, strength.
of course you want to be heavy, right? So I mean, keep eating, right? Because the more body weight you have, the easier it is to kind of pull the guy, right? Besides strength, you also need to use your body weight to kind of pull the guy over to your side of the table,
Mm-hmm.
right? With the lock, then you kind of twist them in, right?
Right.
So food aside, I would do Anavar, BPC 157, and TB 500 for your tendons. Those have the most synergy,
Bar.
I would say. Yeah. So of course, terrible for your hair loss, but it's the best for your tendons because it's so much collagen synthesis.
Okay.
Take that Gorilla Mind collagen supplement. I'm sure that
Okay.
will help. And I would say 1 milligram BPC 157, 1 milligram TB 500, and 20 milligrams of Anavar per day to really strengthen it out. And then you take the Anavar out at, let's say, 2 weeks before. You would start Anadrol to kind of puff up a little bit more, but not to the point that it lowers your grip strength. Like that's why I wouldn't recommend too much growth hormone because the carpal tunnel might lower your grip strength. So you would have to take the growth hormone 3 weeks out before the competition. So at least you can squeeze as hard as you can. Right? You
It
need that
takes that long
sympathetic.
for the water retention to go away from growth.
Yeah, usually 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks to play
Oh,
it safe.
and MK, I assume you want that out as well.
Yeah, MK you would want
Okay.
out as well. Yeah. Of course,
Okay.
your body weight will come down a little bit, but you're adding in the Anadrol, so your body weight should stay the same or maybe go up also. And then
But
Halo
the
testing, I would just run.
sorry,
Sorry?
the Anadrol is also water retentive, right?
Yeah. So if the MK is coming down, right? Your growth hormone levels come down, your IGF-1 levels come down, so your body weight will come down. You'll lose a little bit of this water, but the Anadrol will probably put more water on you. So even if you take the MK out and you add the Anadrol in, you'll probably end up heavier anyway, but with
Won't that
better
still
grip
have
strength.
effect on my grip?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
the Anadrol doesn't hold it in the nerves. The carpal tunnel is coming from the growth hormone that seems to cause water retention in the carpals, the nerves
Oh, okay.
going through so your grip is less good. And of course, you're not just doing one match; you're doing matches the entire day. So you need to make sure that that's not
It's just
a
one super
lingering.
match. It's just 5 rounds against one guy.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. So that's
Yeah.
over.
So this
Okay,
is
so yeah,
really
and
short term, and I just need everything to pile up on for that 30-minute span or 20 minutes,
mhm.
however long it takes. All my ducks need to be in order. So,
Okay. So
um,
eat a lot of garlic leading into it, and you're like fucking smelly, and it will throw them off.
just blow my garlic breath at him from across
Yeah,
the
just
table.
and he's like, and he can't focus, he can't even see, and then he's just easy. That's playing it
No
nasty.
salad for a few weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like, oh, man, James English smells like, I don't know, somebody died up in here.
but
But you
then
won't smell
growth
anything
is.
because you've been building up your garlic, right? You're used to that shit.
I'm immune to it. So
Yeah,
so so growth also will help with like with the tendon recovery, right?
yeah, yeah. But you need to cut the growth out 3 weeks before. So if you have when is it? July, you said? So you got what, 3 months?
June 15th.
June 15th. Yeah. Yeah, 3 months, give or take. So you have plenty of time and growth hormone, BPC 157, TB 500, and Anavar for tendon strength. Right, and it should put some overall strength on you also because Anavar is pretty good at that. And then you switch that 3 weeks out or 2 weeks out for Anadrol, and then later on you add in the Halo. But I think 3 days on Halo is enough.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 days on
Okay.
10 milligrams, because the performance enhancing benefits of halotestin are a little bit exaggerated. And since you're already on Anadrol, I think that would be better. The tendency with halotestin is that it can make you very sore. And of course, if you have multiple matches, then it would not be good. Like it kind of impairs your stamina from what I've seen. Like all these guys on MMA, they take 10 milligrams of Halo like for a couple days leading into the show, and then they're gassing after 2 rounds. And that's only 10
That's not
milligrams.
good.
No, that's not
Yeah.
good.
Because
Yeah.
you do need cardio with these kinds of matches. If the match
Mm.
stops, then it comes down, endurance starts to play a big factor. If you can steamroll someone, endurance doesn't matter. But I don't think that's going to happen either way with
No.
who I'm going against.
Hmm.
So endurance is going to play a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you can look into something like Moldronate to shift energy consumption from everything to basically carbohydrate solo. So you only work on carbs, and then you have less metabolic acidosis or less metabolic waste product from energy production. So you would run like, I don't know, 500 milligrams Mildronate for the last 2 weeks to kind of shift energy consumption to carbohydrates. And then you can use DADA, which has an unpronounceable long name, diisochloroacetate. I'll send you a protocol. And this increases ATP recycling. So now you have unlimited energy. So you have less metabolic waste products and more energy. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is very potent. Maybe we should release this segment after your competition is done, so your competition cannot watch this and do the exact same thing.
Well, he's younger, so I don't think he's going to be taking this stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, he's not under guidance of Derek and myself. So and then Kyle.
Yeah.
So his dream team is not as good as your dream
Well,
team.
his dad is the best arm wrestler of all time, so I'd say his
Oh,
dream team is pretty good.
his dream team is good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Devin Larratt's son.
Oh, you're going against his son.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and,
All
and
right.
his son's been too. Your expression just went, oh shit, you're fucked.
Yeah. Oh, you're going second generation best of the best. So he had access to the shit since he was born, you know?
Yeah, and he's been doing it since he was like. There's videos of him when he was like 5 at these tournaments. So whether he's natural or not is almost irrelevant because the tendon strength is there.
Yeah.
And I can only cover so much ground with pharmacology when I only have 3 months.
Yeah.
Versus 15 years or 14 years of training specifically for this. So, and he's
Yeah.
6'3" and his hands are about this fucking big. So,
Jesus
that's
Christ. Yeah, you picked your opponent well.
You have a picture of him?
Yeah. No, I don't. No, show me.
Oh no, I thought that's what you said. Yeah, I mean, I can
No,
pull
so
him
you
up here.
you picked your opponent well. That's what I said.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, his hand. It's kind of hard to see hand size through a screen, but
Hmm.
his hands are bigger than mine. I don't
Oh
have the
yeah,
biggest hands, so that yeah, and that matters for arm wrestling. So
yeah. The Anadrol will make your hands bigger. Don't worry about that.
thicker.
Yeah, thicker. Yeah, like this, you'll have a
Yeah.
hard time gripping it on. That's the worst thing about coming off. Like my hands are like girly hands now. It's like so small. I have my old rings; they fall off out of my hands. What you can also use to increase reaction time is something like amoxapine. It's another nootropic from Russia. You can get that at the same places as Mildronate, and that increases reaction time and hand-eye coordination. And then something like alpha GPC, Gorilla Mind Smooth would help.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I'm
Yeah.
gonna come in like a fucking lab experiment.
Hey
Holy
man, if
shit.
there's no drug testing, then anything goes.
Yeah, there's not. Or there better not be. I'd melt through the cup. Yeah. So
You pee in the cup and it starts foaming, and all this fucking green goo is on the floor. That'd be so funny. And otherwise, ask Larry Wheels, right? I mean, Larry Wheels has been arm wrestling for a long time. I mean,
yeah.
he doesn't shy away from the PED talk.
No, that's true. But a lot of like arm wrestling is still. I mean, it's growing a lot, and you've probably
Hmm.
seen that just it's being talked about more. But it's still not a science in the same way that bodybuilding is much more established in terms of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah,
Arm wrestling is still like you find the strongest arm wrestler and ask him what he does, and that's kind of the protocol that goes around. That's not
yeah,
necessarily that. I mean, the shit you mentioned, I'm sure arm wrestlers have never even heard of, like the
no,
stuff that increases reaction time. Like it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just they haven't heard of it. That's
yeah.
why I'm asking you.
No, right. And of course, the bodybuilders are on top. Like I had a very good podcast with Jake Benson 2 weeks ago, and he coaches powerlifters and NFL and MMA guys and some bodybuilding here and there, and he's really on top of the pharmacology. And like you need a guy like us to really stay on top of it because there's so many new developments. And then especially with
Hmm.
drug testing, right? You always got to be a couple steps ahead of WADA. Just to make sure that the athletes can still have an edge over the other athletes. But most of the coaches were just researching this shit all day long because it's interesting. And then the athletes go out to put it into practice, and then they test clean. They're like, ha,
Yeah.
fuck you guys.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. Did you see you see I forget a founder of some big company, it might be Google or something like that, wants to start what's called the enhanced games.
So
You
I
see that?
had Dr. Aaron De Souza on, and I met him here in Bangkok about the enhanced games. He's the owner, right, the initiator of the enhanced games. And then Peter Thiel, I think he was with
Yeah.
PayPal. It's like a
Or was it
multi-billionaire. He just
Google?
was it Google. I'm not sure. He put in a lot of money to fund it, and they already had a boatload of funding before. So hopefully they can make that event happen. Have like the enhanced games, and I think it's just track and field and some running in the beginning as a showcase event to see what's possible. But now there's so much publicity that they might need to expand. But I haven't talked to Aaron in a while. I put him in touch with a couple knowledgeable people and that want to be on board. And I would love to contribute where I can. But
Hmm.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And if it's a successful event, then I don't think the Olympics will be around for much longer, and WADA will be
Yes.
around. Now, if
Yeah.
we can get rid of the IOC and WADA, I mean, fuck the crimes against the athletes, dude. It's insane.
I mean, I heard of some chick popping because she had pork and it like tested for DECA, right?
Yeah, no, they use pork as an excuse.
You think?
So yeah, you use DECA and then you already have your excuse ready. So like in MMA, for example, or some sports, their teams are so big, there's so much money involved. They have a research and development team, and they look for supplements which are contaminated, then run that compound maybe a little bit longer, right? They still try to beat the drug test. But if you fail, then they already have a reason why they
That's-
failed.
yeah.
It was this supplement. He took this supplement. No, you knew that this supplement was contaminated with the anabol, Gaspari. So they blame Gaspari Nutrition for having contaminated supplements. I took this one. It was like, I don't know. And the compound that they put on the bottle is not on the WADA prohibited list, but it's contaminated. So
Uh,
they have this as a backup. No, this has been going on for years.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
happened with some guy at IPF Worlds the other year. They
Hmm.
always tested people kind of around the same time, and then one year they decided to test them at a time where I guess they never test them. It was like 2 weeks out
Out,
from the meet.
yeah, out of the
Normally
competition.
they
Yeah.
test them like 4 weeks out and then like the day of or something, and they decided to test them 2 weeks out. And this one guy popped for like eight different things, and he still held on to. He's like, oh, is this protein powder I was taking? Like it had all these SARMs and like oral steroids in it. I swear. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
So
And
of
everyone in
course
the
you try to
comments
get
was
out of it, but none of these guys are drug free, man. No, nobody is.
yeah.
No, but
You
nobody's
don't
drug
think some of
free.
the top powerlifters are?
In the IPF,
I'm
it's a drug tested
uh
show. It doesn't mean that they're natural.
yeah, but so I know with powerlifting some of these um USAPL, and maybe
Hmm.
now it's a different federation, Powerlifting America, they do randomized drug testing throughout the year. And I've actually experienced this because even at 17 years old, when I went to IPF Worlds, they showed up to my high school baccalaureate ceremony,
Ah,
and they called me and they said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm at an assembly. Can I do I'm in my cap and gown. Can I do this tomorrow?"
yeah,
And they said, "No.
yeah,
Where's your high school?" And they pulled up to the high school, and I had to walk
yeah,
out of the ceremony. And so, I mean, it seemed like they took it really seriously. That's just my
yeah,
experience, but they wouldn't even let me do my award ceremony. I had to walk out in my cap and gown, go pee in a cup, and then come back. And I had no prior knowledge of this. And I
yeah,
know the top guys like Russ Swole, they're testing him like very frequently.
yeah. So even then, there's so many drugs which are not on the prohibited list that you could still use and test clean. Right? So you can't
Hmm.
if they do random drug testing, then you can use hypoxin, amoxapine, Dada. They're all not on the list. Turkesterone,
Mm.
ecdysterone. There's so much shit that is not even on the list. You know.
Hmm.
And of course, yeah, with random, it's very difficult to take drugs. But then you just don't take the drugs that are on the list, and you take the drugs that are not on the list yet. And they might be on the list the next year, but if they're not on the list now, then you just take them.
So when you said earlier the crimes against athletes, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because
It,
I'm not
it's
really aware of that.
corruption. So medals are exchanged between countries, and it's just Olympics and World Championships, WBPF, IFBB Elite, because it's government sponsored. Countries expect a certain amount of medals because the federations get paid for the amount of medals that they bring back. And it's performance based. So to
Mm.
appease all of the countries, which just keep bringing new athletes year after year, a certain amount of medals are acquired through lobbying. And that's especially the case with the World Championships. There's a good amount of lobbying before the competition even takes place. And since it's so subjective, um, athletes' places are being moved around depending on bribes or favors. I mean, let's not go into
Hmm.
details. So that's been going on for a long time. So with athletes, like you kind of know that is going on, and you just keep going until they start placing you lower for whatever reason, and then you move on. And some of the athletes they just keep going because they have nowhere else to make money. Because some of these countries they pay a good amount of money. Some countries pay nothing, and some countries pay high amounts. Right, and then
Hmm.
of course with the drug testing, sometimes they make athletes fail even though they're clean. And then
Hmm.
and other athletes are not being tested on purpose because they're superstar athletes of a particular country that has a lot of leverage when it comes to bribes or favoritism or whatever. So you see
Hmm.
some athletes they're there for 12 years winning every class that they do or every competition that they do and never get tested. Right, so it's
Damn,
this is
corruption works
competition.
its way into every little thing. Everything that involves money, corruption is like right behind it.
It's
It's
insane, dude.
crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. And again, since there's so much money involved in these government sponsored sports that are international, and when you look at the people that organize, like the heads of the federations, regardless of country, like most of the people in these federations, they don't train. They've never been an athlete. They're just there for the bribes. You
Mm.
know, that's why I got so sick
Hmm.
of it. That's why I didn't want to coach in those federations anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you bring an athlete in the best shape of their lives and they're drug free, and then they don't place them high. They test them and they forge the results that they failed
And the
for a
enhanced games
compound that
would
they didn't even take.
right, and the enhanced games would uproot all that from the very bottom
Yeah,
because you
right.
don't
Because all
even
the
care.
athletes that failed, they would go to the enhanced games. Now, will records be broken? That I'm not sure about, because at the Olympics, they take drugs also.
Right.
So how much harder the records will be broken, I'm not entirely sure, right? But at least there'll be no drug testing. There'll be doctors on standby just to monitor all the health of all the athletes. And then if it is a success and there's money involved, which there certainly is, like Peter Thiel put in a good amount of money, so that means a lot of money for the athletes. And if the athletes have an alternative, like, wait a minute, I can go here, take drugs that are healthier and better examined than the alternative drugs that we take to beat the drug test, which have not so much scientific evidence and hasn't been studied in humans even. And there's money involved, and I can make like 100K if I win, and I can use drugs. Why am I still in the Olympics? Who the fuck cares?
Yeah. And it would
You
also
know?
expose the Olympic. It would expose that people are taking drugs in the Olympics because in the enhanced games, a bunch of people like publicly on PEDs would show up and probably not, if we're being honest, probably not break any world records. And then
Yeah.
that would be basically proof. Like if you have these top tier athletes taking PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, and they can't
Hmm.
break world records, it means the world records were set by people also taking performance enhancing drugs because no one's genetics are that good.
Exactly.
So it kind of
Exactly.
exposed the
Unless
whole thing.
only the B team, right? You get like the tier 2, 3, and 4 athletes that do the enhanced games, and all the
Right.
tier 1 athletes, the really good ones, is stay with the
Yeah.
regular Olympics, and they are now beaten by B team or C team because they don't get tested, right? Then it's a little bit of a discrepancy, right? This guy
Mhm.
was like 10th place at the Olympics, and now he's first, beating this guy's
Right.
record. Then it will be very clear. Then it
Yeah.
would be very clear the drugs are involved,
Hmm. But if the second place
So,
guy shows up and he still can't beat the first
yeah,
place guy at the Olympics,
then it's
then
very
that's like a
obvious that at the Olympics also drugs are being used.
right,
Which
right, right.
I know because I talked to many of the Olympic coaches and I know what they're doing.
Yeah. Damn.
So, all right, let's wrap it up here because I'm almost out of battery on this camera. We've been going on for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I mean, you can talk, dude. You can fucking talk. Nice work.
Yeah, I told you, man. I told you.
Yeah,
All
good
natty
stuff.
too. Just an energy
All
drink.
natty, yeah. All natty. Where can people find you, James?
James.English on Instagram and then James English on YouTube. But there's another guy that's also named James English on YouTube, and he actually is more well known than me. So don't click on the podcaster. Anything goes with James English. Cool guy, but that's not me. I'm
Okay,
the one with the Jack dude as the profile picture.
there you
And
go.
yeah, and Snapchat as well. I actually post a lot on Snapchat now. James P English. So yeah, that's basically
Awesome.
it.
I'll link it all down below so you have the right links. Go follow this guy. He's transparent as fuck, which is rare in the influencer space. Most of these guys are natural, lifetime natural. But at least you're honest about what you're doing. This was great, man. I'd love to have you on again in a couple months. And are you
Yeah,
going to come to the Olympia this year, or are you going to be MIA again?
I think no, I think I will. I think
All right.
I should start making more appearances. I've realized that after the Arnold, I'm like, why the
Yeah.
fuck didn't I go to this? It looked like so much fun, and just to be surrounded by people that have the same interests as me, I should have gone. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the Olympia for sure.
I'll see you there.
I'll see you
I'll see you
there.
there.
Hey,
I'll
thanks for
be
having me
there.
on, man. It was a
For
great
sure,
it was
man.
a great
This was great.
conversation.
For
Yeah.
sure. I'll talk to you soon, yeah? Take care, buddy.
All right. Sounds good. See you,
Yeah.
bro.